This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
It's Cody's Wish and a very tough Accretive who continues to battle on as they hit the 16th pole. Cody's Wish now edges clear, and Cody's Wish back to sprinting, back to winning today in the Vosburg.
Big Blue Kitten comes through on the inside. It's a photo finish. Did Big Blue Kitten just get up in the final strides, or did Little Mike hold on? It was too close to call here in the Joe Hirsch.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Johannes up to take the lead. Du Jour has Serpents with his rally, and Trickery is in fourth. A 16th to go, and Johannes puts away Conclude and opens up another dazzling display for Johannes to win the City of Hope Mile.
But Game On Dude's full of run, he's finding more. Game On Dude goes on, Awesome Gem finishing stoutly down the center of the track, but it's going to be Game On Dude to win it, and Game On Dude and Chantel Sutherland have taken the Goodwood Stakes.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Good morning once again, everyone. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, welcoming you to the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. This, the show that launched an entire network, and it's all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Going to be a busy 3 hours here this morning, and I'm thrilled to have you with me and kicking off your weekend here on HRRN. You're listening on Sirius 162, XM 207, our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, and streaming worldwide and podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. 33 days, 12 hours, 48 minutes, and 56 seconds. That's the time remaining until the Breeders' Cup returns to Del Mar in Southern California. 5 more automatic bids are going to be handed out this afternoon through the Breeders' Cup Classic, or through the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series. Of course, you do have the Classic. But the Challenge Series is in full swing here this weekend. And then you have other Breeders' Cup tickets potentially being punched in any number of stakes races outside of the 5 Challenge Series races this weekend. And that includes the Lucas Classic and the Ack-Ack at Churchill Downs, the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic and the Woodward at Aqueduct, and tomorrow's Delaware Handicap at Delaware Park, just to name a few. Horses that run well in those races, even though they are not win-in-your-in races, are likely to move on to the Breeders' Cup. The 5 win-in-your-in races slated for this weekend are the Vosburg in New York, the City of Hope Mile, and the Goodwood at Santa Anita, and then the Santa Anita Sprint Championship and Zenyatta Stakes tomorrow at Santa Anita. Of course, the City of Hope and the Goodwood coming up later this afternoon. The Vosburg and Santa Anita Sprint Championship are the races which led me to this week's poll question. And here it is for you. Who should be considered the top contender for the Breeders' Cup Sprint? Bookham Dano, who has been brilliant in New York this summer, or Straight No Chaser, who is returning to the races tomorrow to defend his title in that Santa Anita Sprint Championship, and if all goes well, he'll move on to defend his title in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So Bookham Dano, Straight No Chaser, or other. If you think there's somebody else out there other than those two that's the top contender for the Breeders' Cup Sprint right now, click other and then comment and let me know which horse you think that is. And you can do all of this on our X page. That's at HRRN. You can do that too on Facebook, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. Speaking of Straight No Chaser, you're going to hear from his trainer, Dan Blacker, coming up at 9:40 Eastern this morning. He'll look ahead, and he'll talk about the fact that Straight No Chaser has not been seen on the racetrack since his effort in Dubai. And that was back on April 5th. I'll get into this more in just a minute, but that is not all that unusual for this horse. And it's not all that different from what he did last year leading up to his success in both the Santa Anita Sprint Championship and the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Going to be joined, too, by Fox Sports analyst Maggie Morley at 9 o'clock Eastern. I'll get a chance to talk to her about the big weekend in New York and I'll ask her this very same question because she was there for Bookham Dano's victories this past summer. I'll get her thoughts. Is he the top contender, or is there a case to be made for the defending champ, Straight No Chaser, or somebody else? We'll talk to her coming up to kickoff hour number 2. And while we're so used to seeing big-time stakes races at Santa Anita, at Aqueduct, a couple other tracks who don't often find themselves in the spotlight, at least not nearly as much as those two, are doing just that this weekend. You have Prairie Meadows hosting a series of Iowa-bred races today. And then you have Delaware Park looking forward to the Grade 3 Delaware Handicap tomorrow, a race steeped in history, by the way. And they have a trio of solid stakes at Delaware this afternoon. Jed Doro is the director of racing at Delaware Park. He will be here later in this first hour at 8:35. And I'll talk with Kristal Freese, who is the president of the Iowa Thoroughbred Breeders and Owners Association. She'll be here at 9:20 to talk about the incentives that Iowa breds now have in front of them. And she'll talk about the success of their breeding program as well on this very special day for Iowa breds at Prairie Meadows. After my first break, in just about, 8 or 9 minutes from right now, I'm going to welcome Keeneland President Shannon Arvin. I mean, if you think this is a good weekend with all the Breeders' Cup prep races, just wait till next weekend. It really gets nutty. 15 win-in-year-in races slated for next weekend. Those are just the win-in-their-ins. There's other graded stakes races which will have an impact on the Breeders' Cup picture. 15 win-in-your-ins next weekend. 8 of those are set to be run at Keeneland on Fall Stars weekend. Of course, Keeneland also coming off of that record-breaking September Yearling Sale. And Shannon will touch on all of that when she joins me here in just a few minutes. Really looking forward to that visit. Back to Straight No Chaser versus Bookham Dano in this week's poll question. And again, if you think there's somebody else out there, feel free to weigh in. And if you don't do social media, you can email me your thoughts, mike@horseracingradio.net. Bookham Dano was absolutely sensational this summer. And if you're gonna have a knee-jerk answer to this poll question, I think Bookham Dano wins in a landslide. Simply because of the fact we haven't seen Straight No Chaser in a very long time. Bookham Dano rolled through the races at Saratoga, wins the True North, wins the AG Vanderbilt, and wins the Forgo. That's one hell of a sweep. One heck of a trifecta, isn't it? He deserves to be considered a leading contender, if not the leading contender. I get it, for those of you who are going to answer Bookham Dano. But keep this in mind. Until you beat the champ, he's still the champ, right? And that's where Straight No Chaser sits. Straight No Chaser hasn't run since April 5th at Meydan, when he was 8th in the Grade 1 Golden Shaheen. Not his best effort. But if you look at what Dan Blacker did with him last year, he ran in the Grade 3 Run Happy at Aqueduct on May 11th. We didn't see him again until the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. So, again, not an unusual move with this horse. As a matter of fact, it's very, very similar. And Straight No Chaser is a horse that has had plenty of starts and stops throughout his career. And they have had to manage this horse carefully. But when he's on his game, he's virtually unbeatable. And his wins typically don't come by a nose or a half a length. Of course, he did that in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He won by half a length last year. But typically, he's running away from the competition at the end. He's going to have the home field advantage as well, being based in Southern California. Of course, the Breeders' Cup was run at Del Mar last year. We know he loves the track. He's 2 for 4 over the racetrack, so he handles it fine. Bookham Dano, if you're looking for a chink in the armor, he's never seen the West Coast. I know he shipped to Saudi Arabia, and he's shipped all over the East Coast. You don't worry about Bookham Dano having to take his racetrack with him, although he's really good at Saratoga. I just think he's really good right now. He's continued to mature and develop. So I get the argument for Book 'em Dano. I also get it for Straight No Chaser. And I don't think that this poll question is as cut and dry as it might seem at first glance because of the fact we haven't seen Straight No Chaser. Maybe out of sight, out of mind to a lot of people. But don't let that scare you off if you like this horse. Now, we won't see him until tomorrow. So maybe this poll question it will play better after tomorrow. But we're going to throw it out there for you this morning. He has to deliver tomorrow. And if he does, then you have to look at him as the horse to beat in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, don't you? You're still the champ until you get beat. But step one is winning the Santa Anita Sprint Championship tomorrow. Again, head over to our website, to our social media pages, at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, to cast your vote as to who should be considered the leading contender for this year's Breeders' Cup Sprint. Book 'em Dano, Straight No Chaser, or other. Maybe you think there's somebody else. That's cool. Let me know. And again, if you don't do social media, email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. All right, let's reset the lineup for you. Here's what's coming up. Shannon Arvin momentarily, president of Keeneland, right after this first commercial break. Jed Doro, director of racing at Delaware, right around 8:35 Eastern, 9 o'clock. We kick off hour 2 with Maggie Morley, looking ahead to the big races in New York. Kristal Freese, the president of the ITBOA, at 9:20. And at 9:40, we go down the road to the Breeders' Cup with trainer Dan Blacker talking about Straight No Chaser. 10 o'clock Eastern begins hour 3, the TwinSpires Triple Play. Ashley Anderson will give you 3 races to watch and wager on later today. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History. The second part of his series or story about Mom's Command. You heard the first part last week. If you missed it, it's posted on our website. You can go back and listen. But he has part 2 of that story coming up at 10:20. And at 10:30, I ask, they answer. Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin, both going to be with me to tackle some of the sport's hottest topics. I'm going to ask them if they're buying or selling Baeza after his win in last weekend's Pennsylvania Derby. Are you buying or selling him now as a legitimate win threat for the Breeders' Cup Classic? Is he legit? Was that enough to convince you? I know he's been running behind the leading contender, Sovereignty, and Journalism. But now he breaks through against a field that did not include Journalism or Sovereignty. Is that enough to convince you? Are you buying Baeza now for the Breeders' Cup Classic? I'll ask Dale and Tim that question, along with several others coming up at the end of the show. Shannon Arvin kicks it all off for us momentarily here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And they're off.
Join the Maryland Jockey Club in celebrating the 40th running of Jim McKay Maryland Million Day on Saturday, October 11th at Laurel Park. Come with friends and family to Maryland's Day at the Races as we showcase Maryland sires with over $1 million in purses. Maryland, a foundation of greatness, a bright future ahead. Meet us at Laurel Park on Saturday, October 11th. Visit laurelpark.com for details. First post, 11:30 a.m.
The September meet at Churchill Downs is off and running with live racing Wednesday through Sunday, now through September 28th. A total of 11 stakes will be contested across the September meet, featuring the $500,000 Lucas Classic, the $400,000 Locust Grove, and the kickoff to the Road to the Kentucky Derby and Oaks with the $300,000 Iroquois and $300,000 Pocahontas. The September meet will run Wednesday through Sunday. First post is 12:45 p.m. most days, with a special 5 p.m. first post each Thursday for Twilight Thursday. Horse players will have plenty of opportunities to score at the meet with a new $3 late pick 3 quality with a low 15% takeout rate. For more information about the September meet, visit ChurchillDowns.com and follow Churchill Downs on all social media platforms.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
Just a couple of reminders for Englishman. An Englishman dashes away 4 clear, final 16th. An Englishman, after a sharp start, easily put away Tagermine and dazzles on debut.
That's TDN Rising Star Englishman, the son of Darley stallion Maxfield, winning by more than 7 lengths on debut at Churchill Downs last Friday. A victory which makes him your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley stallion Maxfield, represented by his 12th winner from his first crop of juveniles when Englishman posted a 97 buyer on debut at Churchill on Friday. He becomes the 3rd Rising Star of the Year for Maxfield. No other freshman sire has as many. Learn more about Maxfield and all the Darley stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Dazzling move is underway. She's within 6 lengths of Torpedo Anna, who ran 6 furlongs in 1:11:1. Torpedo Anna turns for home with Darth Vader in hot pursuit, a length back second. These two past the 8th pole together. Brian Hernandez Jr. riding for his life on Torpedo Anna, trying to fend off this huge bid from Darth Vader. It's Torpedo Anna. Darth Vader's coming at her. Torpedo Anna, Darth Vader. Here's the line. Photo finish. Torpedo Anna and Darth Vader hit the wire together in the personal ensign.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. Happy to have you along for the ride right up until 11 a.m. Eastern on the final Saturday in the month of September, which means the Breeders' Cup is right around the corner. And one of the win in year-end races taking place at Keeneland next weekend is the Grade 1 Spinster. And Torpedo Anna, winner of the Personal Ensign Stakes, you just heard the call from Frank Miramati, is among those being pointed for that race. The reigning horse of the year. She is absolutely brilliant. She proved that she is on top of her game with that win. And now we get to see her in the heart of the bluegrass next weekend. Going to be a spectacular weekend. Fall Stars weekend kicking off on Friday. Of course, Keeneland coming off of that record-breaking September Yearling Sale as well. Incredible numbers there. And Shannon Arvin is the president of Keeneland. I know she was thrilled with that. She's thrilled with what we're going to see next weekend, too. Shannon, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
$531.5 million. That was the gross for that September sale last weekend. What on earth did you slip into the burgoo and the bread pudding out there over those 12 sessions?
It was an incredible couple weeks, and really the culmination of so much work on behalf of our breeders and our team who worked so hard all year long to bring the buyers here from around the world. It was so incredible to see people's hard work rewarded. It was really a pleasure to see. 56 $1 million yearlings or higher went through the auction ring. That is absolutely sensational. It was pretty incredible, and one of my favorite statistics is that there were 34 unique buyers of those 56 horses who sold for 7 figures. So the market was really deep. You know, when people say it harkened back to the 80s, I love hearing that, but I think it's even better than the 80s because you have such a depth of buyers and people interested in the sport, not just in the sales, but in the sport. You know, they're buying these prospective star athletes to be on the track, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I know you mentioned the team and the hard work that goes into it, and Tony Lacey and Cormac Brennick and Ryan Mahan and his team. Everybody works so hard to put these auctions together, and it starts months and months and months before. And you mentioned the pool of buyers that were there. Talk a little bit about that, Shannon, and why that's significant for the future of thoroughbred racing.
You know, we just believe so strongly, and I think everybody looking at the sport with an optimistic lens. I mean, this is an international sport. You have to have a healthy ecosystem, certainly throughout our country, but throughout the world as well. It's one of the most exciting aspects to me of the sport, that it is such an international sport. So we had buyers from 33 countries represented, and quite a few new buyers in some new countries, which was exciting to see. So, you know, the team travels literally all over the world. I was talking to one of our staff accountants yesterday afternoon, and he said, my favorite thing about working here is asking the sales team where they're going this weekend, because I'm like going to Bardstown and they're going to Australia or Japan or Hong Kong or South Korea, wherever it may be. So they work really hard on cultivating those relationships and making people feel comfortable when they come to Keeneland to buy horses, that they know they're going to get the resources they need, that they're going to be treated well, that they're going to know where to go to dinner, where to stay, which hotel, and just that concierge aspect I think is so important, because at the end of the day, it certainly is a business, but it's fun. You know, I mean, this is a competitive, fun sport, and that's why people get into it. So when you come to the sales, you've got to keep that fun meter up pretty high, because that's a large part of why we do what we do. So often in the media, even mainstream media, the news that comes out about thoroughbred racing is often negative. Good news isn't sexy. It doesn't sell. Right.
But when you see auctions like this and you see so many people participating and spending their money, I've always said that is such a wonderful sign and a true sign that the industry is very, very strong. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a shared enthusiasm and optimism for the future. And, you know, a lot of people are pointing to the tax benefits, and that's certainly an aspect of it. I mean, that's a benefit, the bonus depreciation that NTRA and others worked really hard to get extended through the tax bill this summer. That's an aspect of it. But at the end of the day, you still own a horse if you're participating. So you have to have enough interest to be purchasing horses and getting in the game. So I think there's just so much cause for optimism for the future. And, you know, you've got a lot of tracks around the country. You've got Churchill, you've got Belmont, you've got us investing a whole lot of money and resources into not just purses, which is a huge aspect of it, but also the experience that people have when they come to the track, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to bring them back, that they had a great time. Win, lose, or draw, they had a great time when they went to the races.
Shannon, you are now in your fourth year as president of Keeneland. What are, obviously a sale like this makes you very proud, but what are some of the other things that you're proud of that you've been able to accomplish over these first 4 years?
You know, I think it goes back to, at the end of the day, are you enjoying what you're doing, and are you enjoying the people that you're doing it with? And for me, I think it's certainly the numbers and the records and all of that is a huge feeling of confidence and accomplishment for our industry and for our breeders and the people that put their confidence in us to get their horses to market. And at the end of the day, though, it's our team day after day rowing in the same direction and coming into these grounds every morning and feeling like we're fortunate to be here, we're grateful to be here, we're stewards of this place, and we want to make it better. We embarked on a construction project almost 2 years ago now, which has been a massive project, but I think something that shows our confidence in the future. And we're now moved in, as of this week, into our new office building, so we're all under the same roof again, which is great. We're not so nomadic like we have been for the last couple of years. And then we've got a renewed paddock that we're going to showcase this race meet just next weekend. We'll be in our new paddock, our re-envisioned paddock, with the horses up closer to the people just when you walk in the east entrance. And I think that building and the experience that we can offer to our guests is just going to be a game changer.
Well, I remember when you first joined me, after you first took office, if you will, as the president of Keeneland, and one of the things you mentioned to me was not resting on your laurels, right? It's not right. It's not the same Keeneland anymore, and I think Keeneland kind of gets stereotyped as being traditional and old school, and that's all wonderful, but you didn't want that to be the focal point. You wanted to kind of do some of these innovative things.
Yeah, I think we've got to. I think we've got to keep innovating and keep making the place better and the sport better.
Yep.
I'm a traditionalist. You know me well enough to know I love tradition. but not all traditions are worth keeping. So it's just a function of working through that with our team and figuring out, okay, what works well, what doesn't work well, what can we do better, and how can we offer a better experience.
Well, next week, the attention turns from the auction crew to folks like Gatewood Bell and Ben Huffman, the racing secretary. Kurt Becker will be the man in the spotlight when he takes the microphone in the announcer's booth. We'll have a great weekend of racing with Fall Stars weekend. I mentioned, Shannon, there are 15 Win and You're In Breeders' Cup Challenge races slated for next weekend. 8 of those are going to be run at Keeneland. Just absolutely sensational weekend.
Yeah, we always start off with a bang. Our first weekend is definitely our biggest one, 11 stakes races.
Yeah, incredible. Which of those, I'm not going to ask you, I am going to ask you, which of those are among your favorites that you like to, as a fan, just kick back and watch and enjoy?
I love the Spinster. I mean, that's always a tremendous race, and this year it certainly promises to be tremendous with Torpedo Anna joining us and Nitrogen. That's going to be awesome to see those fillies and mares. The First Lady's always a fun race to me too. It's hard to believe Chad Brown's won that the last 7 years and has a couple chances to win it again this year. The Breeders' Futurity, the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity, I love always also because you're looking at some horses that you might see again that first Saturday in May. So, I mean, the racing opening weekend is hard to beat.
Shannon, you ever want to give up that gig at Keeneland? You got a home here as an analyst. That was fantastic. Throwing out stats about Chad Brown. I love it.
Well, that one, it just stands out to me every year. I mean, I always talk to him before the race and after the race, and it's just incredible to me for him to have won that 7 years in a row. I
know first and foremost that you are a racing fan, and you said earlier that you have to love what you're doing, and you certainly do. Every day when you show up to work, do you just kind of pinch yourself? I think we all have to we better be pitching ourselves, right? I laughed during the sale. I said, if you're not enjoying this, you need to go find something else to do. And it really is the same thing every day. There's certainly challenges, and one of the blessings of Keeneland is that everybody feels an ownership of it. So when you're making the calls on which directions you go, people don't always agree with your calls. But the coolest thing about this place to me is that it's so clear what our North Star is. We're always going to do what's right for the horse. We're always going to do what's right for the sport, for the sales, for our community. And we have it's a blessing. We can always do what we do with integrity because that's our calling. We don't have, shareholder profits we have to worry about. We just have to worry every day about doing the right thing. And that's really a lucky position to be in. It makes things a lot simpler. Yeah, we've had plenty of positive things to talk about here during this conversation, Shannon. And you said there's always challenges. When you look to the future, I know you mentioned the renovations; those are going to be completed. You got the Breeders' Cup coming in next year. What are some of the challenges that Keeneland or maybe the industry as a whole might face over the next couple of years?
I think it's the sport as a whole, and I think we really have to get back to focusing on that healthy ecosystem and finding ways to help strengthen our regional markets. And, HISA, to me, has been a game changer for the positive. It's not perfect. I don't agree with everything that they do and the way they do it, but we've come a long way in a pretty short period of time. And I think now that we've got a federal regulatory body, we can really focus on other aspects that need to be focused on. Before we kind of couldn't get past whether a horse should be given Lasix or some of the other hot button topics from a regulatory standpoint to talk about things like aftercare and backside safety and making sure our working community is well taken care of. I mean, I think now we can really focus on some of the bigger picture issues and really make some headway.
Do you see Keeneland and maybe yourself as Keeneland's always been regarded as the industry leader or a industry leader, certainly a major player on so many levels. Do you kind of see it as your responsibility to take the reins on that and try to move that ball forward in a lot of respects?
Without a doubt, and to do it in a way that incorporates other stakeholders. We've got to work with HBPA. Well, we've got to work with the Jockey Club, with Breeders' Cup, with NTRA. I think ITBOA. There are so many groups that are trying to do the right things, and we just need to make sure instead of working in silos, we're all working together in a way that we can really make some meaningful progress.
Well, Shannon, you've done a remarkable job over the first 4 seasons. I know there's plenty more to come, and you mentioned some of the innovations, some of the things you're working on. All the best with those, and enjoy every part of Fall Stars Weekend coming up starting on Friday.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it.
Always fun to catch up. Shannon Arvin, president of Keeneland here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. She really does a remarkable job. And that team, she kept coming back to her team. And it takes a village, right? We say that a lot. It takes a village. And there are so many high-quality individuals involved at every level of Keeneland, whether it's Keeneland sales, Keeneland racing. There are just so many top-notch people, and that's why Keeneland continues to be successful, continues to set the standard, and continues to move forward the way they have every single year. And that renovation is going to be spectacular. You heard her talk about unveiling some of that coming up this meet. And then you've got the great racing product next weekend. Horse of the Year, Torpedo Anna, pointing for the personal ensign. Or for the personal ensign. She's won the personal ensign, pointing for the Spinster on Sunday. That's going to be a big deal. Should be fun. And by the way, she will not be ridden by Brian Hernandez Jr. Brian suffered that severe injury, went through surgery. Everything went well. We want to wish Brian all the best. I know he tunes into this program here and there, maybe more so now that he's just laying around with nothing to do, only healing. But Brian, wish you all the best, brother. Keep it rolling, and we can't wait to see you back in the saddle again one day before too long. It's come to my attention, my crack producer Lee Delapina says, hey, you forgot to give out the impossible trivia question at the top of the show. So I'm going to do it for you right now. Lee, what is the impossible trivia question this week?
Thank you, Mike. The Joe Hirsch Turf Classic takes place later today, and most horse racing fans know that the race was named after horse racing columnist and founding president of the National Turf Writers Association, Joe Hirsch. So this week's impossible trivia question is about him. While Joe Hirsch worked at the Morning Telegraph between the years 1965 and 1976, he had a very famous roommate. Who was his roommate? No Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
I love it. That's a great question. Joe Hirsch remembered this afternoon with the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic up at Aqueduct. You're going to hear from Maggie Morley, Fox Sports analyst, to talk about that race and so many others in New York coming up at 9 o'clock Eastern. But when I return, going to visit with Jed Doro, the director of racing at Delaware Park. He'll talk about tomorrow's Delaware Handicap and their Strong Saturday program as well. That's next after your Legends of the Turf and this short commercial break.
For want of a nail, a shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, a race was lost. This is a story of the tragic demise of a thoroughbred who was thought by some to have been the greatest horse ever to don a set of racing plates. He raced in the colors of Darby Dan Farm and was trained by Lloyd Gentry. He was the son of Rebo out of Flower Bowl by Alibi, and by late April of his 3-year-old campaign had become the solid choice for the Kentucky Derby. He was a big, rock-solid colt who had muscles that literally rippled with raw power. In terms of conformation, he was some kind of a thoroughbred specimen. He won his first 7 races by an average margin of 5.5 lengths and never had a rival finish closer than 4 lengths to him. Incredible. He'd never gone over 7/8 of a mile in any of his wins until the Bluegrass Stakes at Keeneland on April 28, 1966. In that race, he was beaten a bare nostril by the very good Abe's Hope, but, as it turned out, that was his greatest performance of an abbreviated career, which in fact ended with that race. He had run the final 5 furlongs of that race on a sloppy racetrack on what amounted to 3 legs and a mountain of courage. That story well worth recounting. He had been reshod April 21st, 1 week before the Bluegrass, after he had been plated by one farrier. Another put a new bar shoe on his left hind foot, which he had bruised in Florida. It appeared he might be carrying that foot a bit high on Sunday, April 24th, when he worked 1 mile and 1:40, and his stride was a measured one. Veteran horsemen well know that when a horse goes bad behind, it usually means trouble up front somewhere down the line. On April 27th, the morning before the Bluegrass, he worked 3/8 and 33 4 on a sloppy track.
To the careful observer, it was apparent he was off a bit on his left front as he trotted back to the barn to be cooled out. In the bluegrass the next afternoon, he broke like a cannon shot and was 6 in front going around the clubhouse turn. At just about the 5/8 pole, he took a noticeably bad step, almost stopping in midair, as a matter of fact, and from that point on, he continued on nothing more than sheer, pure, raw courage. You see, at that point of the misstep, he had fractured the wing of the coffin bone in his left forefoot, as it was discovered later. Braulio Baeza, the cool Panamanian who rode him in 6 of his 7 wins, said, quote, he went around the turn fairly good, but as soon as he got into the straightaway on the backside, he tried to run out, which in fact hurt or sore horses are prone to do. Quote, I tapped him on the shoulder a couple of times trying to keep him straight, but he tried to get out all the way down the backside, and he was still trying to get out after the race, unquote. In that race, he galloped out 1.25 miles in 2:03 2. On Sunday, May 1st, 6 days before the Kentucky Derby, the fracture showed up in x-rays. And not only was he subsequently withdrawn from the Run for the Roses, but his racing career was at an end. That marvelous thoroughbred who later went on to outstanding seasons of production in the breeding shed and who was, in some observers' eyes, the very best to ever grace American racetracks was Graustark. His story is indeed a tragic yet memorable moment in thoroughbred racing.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Join us at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races on Saturday, October 11th for the 39th Annual West Virginia Breeders' Classics. It's the premier night of racing for West Virginia breds on the Charlestown calendar. The all-stakes 10-race card is headlined by the $300,000 Sam Huff West Virginia Breeders' Classic, with over $1 million in purses up for grabs on the night. The best West Virginia breds in training get their time to shine under the lights at Charlestown. It's the 39th Annual West Virginia Breeders' Classics here at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races.
Dear racing fans, we've been waiting for you. We've been working, prepping, training, putting together thrilling races, high stakes, favorite traditions, and fresh experiences. From right on the rail to the top of the hill. Whether it's your first meet or your 50th, we can't wait to welcome you back this fall. Love, Keeneland.
Thinking about getting into racehorse ownership? There's no better time and no better place than right here in Iowa. Owning an Iowa-bred thoroughbred means more money, more perks, and more chances to win. With one of the most lucrative state-bred incentive programs in the country, Iowa-bred horses run for bigger purses, breeder and owner bonuses, and restricted races with less competition. Whether you're just starting out or already in the game, Iowa-breds give you a better return on your investment. Support local, win local. Own an Iowa-bred. Brought to you by the Iowa Thoroughbred Breeders and Owners Association.
Get ready for a weekend packed with exciting giveaways and prizes at Delaware Park Casino. Join us Saturday, September 27th and Sunday, September 28th for Delaware Park's Del Cap Festival of Racing. Each day after the 9th race, a lucky fan will win 2 VIP Philly Experience tickets or 2 University of Delaware football tickets with free parking. Sunday, September 28th is Del Cap Hat Giveaway Day while supplies last. All happening at Delaware Park Casino, where winning is always in play. Visit DelawarePark.com for more information. Lottery agent for Delaware Lottery. Must be 21 to play.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
A 2-horse affair, a rematch of the Fleur-de-Lis as they head for home. On the inside, Frivolous and Court. On the outside, Sheer Drama and Joe Bravo. And now Sheer Drama sticks a neck in front. Frivolous battling back gamely. 5 lengths to Flashy American. It's a 2-horse affair still with a 16th to go. When Sheer Drama gets the nod on Frivolous today, Sheer Drama begins to edge away. Sheer Drama gets her revenge. She wins the Del Cap. Sheer Drama and Joe Bravo by 2.5. Frivolous second. America close for third. Flashy American fourth.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. That's the way it sounded 10 years ago. 2015 renewal of the Delaware Handicap going to the ultra-tough Sheer Drama. My goodness, when you hooked her, you knew you were in for a fight, didn't you? Really, really good. She is part of the incredible history of that Delaware Handicap, which is renewed tomorrow at Delaware Park. Big card on tap for today as well. Jed Doro is the director of racing at Delaware Park, and he joins us now. Jed, good morning.
Good morning.
Man, what a weekend this is, huh?
Yeah, it looks great on paper. Let's hope Mother Nature works with us, but it does look good on paper as we speak.
Well, I was going to ask you that. What's the update on the weather situation?
Well, right now the sun is shining. It's a really beautiful morning. We do have showers coming somewhere between 3 and 4. It currently is predicting about 1/10 of an inch of rain, producer, and then overnight we're supposed to get it up to another 1/2 inch. So the turf card tomorrow is really suspect. Today we have a very soft to yielding course today. We are on as we speak, but it's Mother Nature is giving us a beautiful headache.
How well does that turf course handle the amount of rain like you're talking about? You said it's suspect, but does the course handle it pretty well?
It gets ours holds water very well. So when we do get rain, it takes a little longer for it to get to evaporate and or drain. So about say 48 hours ago, we did get over almost 1 inch of rain, and it's still holding a good fair amount. But it's a yielding course, and it's going to be stopped. But it appears that we should be fine today. But tonight, I think if we get all this rain, we will have no shot of being on tomorrow.
Well, let's start with today's card. You have 10 races, a trio of stakes races, which are really strong. The Kent Stakes with a purse of $150,000 kind of highlights the program. It's race number 9. But walk me through those 3 stakes races and tell me about some of the storylines we're going to see.
Well, the Christiana, we have I believe it's a 10-horse field. I think we have some horses coming out of I don't know what they call it now, the Old Dominion Oaks, I believe is what it's called, from Colonial. We have a few fillies coming out of there. It looks like I felt it looked like a very even race. I didn't really see any real big standouts per se. I felt gambling-wise, we had a good group. It's a solid group. I'm not sure what we have in there as of yet. Jonathan Thomas, I know, is bringing his filly. She's here. He's one of those guys that I feel is a sneaky good trainer that doesn't get enough notoriety nationwide, along with a handful of other people. But Jonathan definitely has helped support our program over the last few years on these stake days.
Well, I think, Jed, you have to be thrilled. Not just a guy like Jonathan Thomas, and I agree with you. He's one of those trainers that you don't often hear about as being among the top trainers, but he does a fantastic job. But you look at Graham Motion, who's always been a supporter. Brendan Walsh has a horse in there. Michael Stidham, Saffie Joseph Jr., Miguel Clement, Michael Trombetta. You're getting a lot of the big-name trainers there for this particular race and this particular day.
Yeah, I do believe it lined up well, too. I think this time of the year, straight 3-year-old races on the turf still, there's not as many options. Kentucky Downs was about the most recent. So I think for these guys you mentioned, it sort of lines up for them to have somewhere to go after Kentucky Downs. It's a little quick back there for you, but yeah. Most of these guys, yeah, they do support us. Saffie's been a really good supporter the last few years. Mike's stabled here. Mr. Stidham is stabled here. Brendan, as always, I felt the last few years has been a very big supporter of us on our bigger days. And Miguel Clement, he's always helping us all summer long. He's one of our best. I feel is a very good supporter of our meet.
Well, the Christiana Stakes is race number 7 on the 10-race program. 4:13 Eastern is the post. How about the other 2? Of course, as I mentioned, it wraps up with the Kent, but we've got one sandwiched in between there, too.
Yeah, we got the Endine, and we haven't ran the Endine since 2000. I believe 2012 was the last running. So this year we attempted sort of a filly sprint series. We ran a Rehoboth Stake early in May. Then we ran the Dashing Beauty in July that Mystic Lake won. And then this was sort of the end of the series. So that, in theory, we were hoping to kind of carry a horse or two through the series. We did get one, Alani, who ran in the first leg and then supplemented to this leg. Yeah, so I think it's a bunch of local nice mares. I think we have a competitive group. Horatio de Paz really coming out of the Honorable Miss. You know, you got. I feel we got a very competitive group of mares in the Mid-Atlantic. I know that last week at Philly, they sort of had a Philly mare sprint as well. They haven't had one before, so it kind of hurt our field size. But overall, I still think we got a solid 6. I do think it's a good, solid group, and they're very even. I think any one of them could be their day today, any of them.
How about the Kent Stakes?
Well, with the Kent, I do know that Dale, I'm not sure how we say his last name, Dale, I want to say it's Desero, number 5 Church and State. I do know they are scratching. I believe Mr. Romans is also scratching. Maui Strong. The other 10 in here, again, we got a Delmar Derby Invader. We have, I think we have an Old Dominion. We have a Nashville Derby runner. You know, we got, like you said, we have Kelly Breen, Graham Motion, Brendan Walsh, Rick Dutrow Jr., Jonathan, you know, a local horse, Hopes Alive, was here all summer, went to Colonial. You know, a local horse that has an outside shot. I think Blake's horse could run well in here.
Jed, one of the things I always enjoy talking with you about when we have these conversations every season is the fact that you and the team there do a lot of recruiting, right? And this is the same at any racetrack. You want horsemen to send their horses to your big races as opposed to going somewhere else because there's so much competition. But we're talking about the big barns that are represented on this particular weekend at Delaware. Does that in any way come into your sales pitch when you're talking to connections about coming there? Do you say, hey, Graham Motion's here, Brendan Walsh is here, Safi's here, you should be too?
It certainly comes up. We do mention it. You know, we solicit the heck out of our program.
Yeah.
And some years it works out. We get a good group, and then, you know, we get a really good group. And then sometimes, for whatever reason, there's always reasons, and come up a little short. This year I felt it came up pretty good. Moving this whole weekend from July to September was, in my opinion, a big gamble. Still not 100% if I'm sold on it yet, but it looks like on paper, like I said, I think it turned out to be paper-wise, we got a really, really, I think, a good 2 days of racing. A lot of even races, tough, you know, field size, everything you're looking for as a gambler, I feel, if the weather participates. But yeah, in regards to hustling these people to come up here, yeah, we solicit. We call Mr. Mott. We have Mr. Mott here for Delaware Derby weekend. We've had some pretty good success this year with a lot of the stuff we've tried. So we're hoping this weekend works as well.
Well, the weather, even though it could affect the turf races tomorrow, with the Delaware Handicap, the signature event tomorrow afternoon being run at 1.1 miles on the main track, you can do things to the main track to seal it and to make sure the track is fine. It'll be wet if you do get that kind of weather that you just talked about. But that Delaware Handicap has so much history, and tomorrow another horse will add their name to that illustrious list. Yeah,
it's one of our ones we like to hang our hat on. We were a little bummed out with the grade stakes committee taking our grade, but, you know, they did it. Move on, chalk it up to learning lessons, and this year
Jed, why did they take the grade away? What reason did you get?
Well, they don't actually give you a reason. It's basically they go off the last 3 runnings, and it's a percentage of graded stake winners that participate in it. So our percentage over the last few years for grade stake winners running in it had dipped. Idiomatic did run in it within the last 3 years, but going into it. She was a Grade 3 winner. Coming out of it, she ended up winning the Breeders' Cup. She went on to be a pretty nice mare, but the way that I'm understanding, the Grade 6 committee doesn't warrant your numbers on what they do after. It's what they do coming to you. Huh. So that is what we are finding out. So this year we were really pushing to try to get some Grade 2 winners, a little more graded winners in it. And overall, I think we did okay. We were really hoping Mr. Hennick or Brad were going to run here, but we understand they stayed home, and Mr. Hennick won, and Brad ran well as well. So, I mean, overall, I still think our 5 are good. I think Whit Beckman's mare is going to be pretty competitive. I think Dan Ward is not coming down here to run 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Dan's coming to win. I think Majestic Hoops will run well. And Sappy's mare or filly, I believe, is the one that on paper is going to be the one to beat, I believe.
Dazzling Move. Number 2, 3-2 on the morning line. And, of course, you mentioned Dan Ward and Majestic Oops. And, we got a chance to see Gunsong knockoff randomized yesterday in the Beldame. Yep. So Gunsong not going to be at Delaware tomorrow, but ran a big race. And I know that makes you proud that Gunsong was cross-entered and had a chance to show up there at Delaware. But really, really nice filly.
Gunsong did win our Obeah, which ran on our Delaware undercard, Delaware Derby undercard, and was second to a local horse of Gary Capuano's Malibu Beauty. So, again, we did have her here. She just didn't come back, which is understandable.
Jed, I'm going to defend you here for just coming back to what you said about losing the grade for this race. You look at the winners over the course of the past 10 years, and I know that the Greatest Stakes Committee doesn't go back a decade, but we heard the call of Sheer Drama in 2015. She was followed by I'm a Chatterbox, the Larry Jones trainee. Then you had Songbird. She was pretty good. Then you had a late the next 2 years, Dunbar Road, Miss Marissa, Miss Leslie, and then Idiomatic in 2023 and Honored the Lady last year. I just mentioned some iconic names over the past decade, and to me it's mind-boggling that any committee would look at a race and say, well, there isn't enough quality there. We need to drop it.
Well, I'm in complete agreement with you, but I'm not on the committee.
And what you said was very interesting about what the horses have done before they get there. But I'm pretty sure Idiomatic and Late and those horses had some success before they got to you.
No, they had decent little run-ups coming to us and did very well leading us. And it was an unfortunate thing, and we're just smiling and carrying on and attempting to work on getting it back.
What else can fans look forward to this weekend when they make it out to Delaware Park, Jed?
For the fans coming out, we got some pretty cool promotions. We have today, if you make a wager on a sporting NCAA game, football, or any NFL game today or tomorrow for $10, and then a $10 win ticket on any race across the country, you get yourself an entry slip for a possibility of winning either Philadelphia Eagles experience tickets, which is through TickPick. They're pretty cool. You get a lounge access. You get to meet some of these alumni and that part. We also have an on-flag experience for Philadelphia Eagle fans. So for Eagle fans, we got some really good football tickets being given away for a $20 wager between two wagers. Or if you're a local and you're a University of Delaware football fan, we're giving away Blue Hen tickets as well. And then a couple gift cards, $1,000 gift card tomorrow. You could win for a donation of up to $5. You could win a gift card for $150. You could get some local restaurants for giving away gift cards to a couple of local restaurants. And then we have tomorrow. We have they haven't told us who, but we will have a Eagle alum from 2:30 to 3:30 tomorrow on property. They're raffling off a Jordan Mailata signed, I want to think it's a signed football, and I don't know who the other fellow's name is, but they're giving away a signed helmet from I think Mitchell is his last name. Then they're going to have a couple other raffles like that going on tomorrow. So we're promoting. We got some pretty cool promotions going on over the weekend.
Jed, I really enjoyed the conversation until you started spouting off all this Eagles stuff.
Well, I'm not an Eagle fan either, but we are sort of an Eagle country. We're in a weird section of the country where you're Eagles fans, Ravens fans, there are some Commander fans.
That's worse.
And then you have the Jets and you got the Giants. That's kind of that's sort of the grouping here. You see a few Steeler fans as well, and then I don't know. Then it's real sporadic. But we are definitely in Philadelphia Eagle country in this area.
Jed, enjoy every minute of this weekend. It's great racing. I hope the weather cooperates for tomorrow, but that Delaware Handicap should be a good show anyway. And really appreciate the time and all the support that you and the team give to us here on HRRN, my friend.
Likewise. Appreciate the time.
All right, brother. Jed Doro, Director of Racing, Delaware Park. What a job he does keeping all the balls up in the air there, and the entire team just keeping the races rolling there at Delaware Park and putting those cards together. Make sure you keep an eye on those races this weekend, today and tomorrow. All right, coming up next, I'll tell you what's ahead in hour number 2, and I'll get you set for hour 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed for Sales, Kentucky.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becker. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
We have the world at our fingertips, inspiration in our touch, and power in our hands. Our hands, gentle enough to hold the next generation, yet strong enough to build movements that can change the world. Our hands can build relationships, frame ideas, and empower communities. We have the ability to share and imagine, create and comfort, love and heal the world around us. And it doesn't stop there. Right here, in our hands, we have the power to save a life. If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest.
The power is in your hands.
Anthem Foundation is the proud national supporter of the American Heart Association's Hands Only CPR campaign.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Rebels Romance moving now. Rebels Romance takes the lead from Camo Spirit as they make their way to the top of the stretch. There goes Harvard is next. Farbridge trapped in behind horses, no place to go. Then Gold Phoenix and Wingspan, and on the far outside, Rousham Park from behind, but Rebels Romance has built a big lead here. Rousham Park is cutting into it. Rebels Romance by 2. Rousham Park coming. Rebels Romance, Rousham Park. Rebels Romance, a Breeders' Cup winner again. Rousham Park was second, Shariar was third. Then a photo between Wingspan and Gold Phoenix.
That's Larry Colmus with the call of last year's Breeders' Cup Turf, won by Rebels Romance, who returns this afternoon. He makes his trip back to the U.S., prepping for this year's Breeders' Cup in the Grade 1 Joe Hirsch Turf Classic Invitational at Aqueduct. Coming up momentarily, Maggie Morley, the longtime analyst for Fox Sports and NYRA, is going to join me to kick off hour number 2. We'll get a chance to talk about Rebels Romance and that particular race. We'll talk about all of the greatest stakes taking place there. You have the win and you're in Vosburg as well. And I'm going to ask her the same question that I'm asking you here this morning with our poll question. Which horse should be considered the top contender for the Breeders' Cup Sprint? And I bring that up because of the fact that you have races like the Vosburg and the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. But I'm giving you a few choices here. Bookham Dano, Straight No Chaser, who returns tomorrow in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, or other. And if you feel like there's another horse out there beside the top two, who should it be? Bookham Dano right now running away with the poll. 69% of you saying it is Bookham Dano. And I said earlier, I don't think it's that cut and dry. You're still the champ until you get beat. He is the champion. He's the defending Breeders' Cup Sprint champion. And he's going to have the home field advantage, but he's got to run well tomorrow to even get there. You're going to hear from his trainer, Dan Blacker, coming up here in hour number 2. He joins me 9:20 Eastern. But right now, Bookham Dano, off of what he did at Saratoga, 3 consecutive brilliant efforts for Bookham Dano, is running away with this poll. You can continue to vote at HRRN on X. You can do that Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook and cast your vote there, or email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. You heard from Shannon Arvin, Keeneland President, short time ago. If you're coming to Keeneland, you want to make your reservations now for Tony's of Lexington. I was there the other night. Man, was it fantastic. Of course, I love the Sir Barton. It's an incredible New York strip. And their steaks are just unparalleled. I've told you many times, I'll say it again. The best steak I've ever had anywhere with all of our travels is at Tony's of Lexington. But you want to get your reservations now. They are filling up quickly. It's going to be packed every single night in there. They're on Main Street right behind Rupp Arena. Give them a call today. If you want to tell them I told you to do it, that's fine. They'd love to have you. But make sure you make those reservations now. Tony's of Lexington, you cannot beat it. I'm back with hour 2 after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back, hour 2 of 3. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. Happy to have you along for the ride. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, my conversation with Shannon Arvin from Keeneland, Jed Doro, Director of Racing at Delaware. You can head back to our website, horseracingradio.net, to listen to the podcast. You can do that, too, on your favorite podcast platform. So wherever you listen to podcasts, type in Horse Racing Radio Network and check out the podcast of this show and all the shows we bring your way each and every week. Maggie Morley does a tremendous job at NYRA. She's going to join me momentarily to talk about what is a sensational afternoon of racing there with several greatest stakes. Kristal Freese set to be with me 9:20 Eastern. She's the president of the ITBOA. It's a big day of racing at Prairie Meadows for the Iowa Breds. So we'll talk to Kristal about the Iowa Bred program. And then at 9:40, we will go down the road to the Breeders' Cup with Dan Blacker talking about Straight No Chaser. And I told you he is the subject of our poll question this morning. Is it Straight No Chaser, Bookham Dano, or somebody else who should be considered the top contender for the Breeders' Cup Sprint? Bookham Dano was really good in New York this year, and Maggie was there for all of those, and she's here with you right now. Maggie, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
What do you think, Bookham Dano or Straight No Chaser? You going to stick with the home team?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question because I'm very good friends with Dan Blacker. But yes, Wilkin should be considered the likely favorite, the one to be, what have you, for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He's had the most consistent campaign and, at least of now, has beaten all the best on this coast.
You look at that trifecta he completed at Saratoga, winning the Grade 3 True North, the Grade 2 AG Vanderbilt, the Grade 1 Forgo. I mean, that's hallowed ground.
Yeah, seriously. And I know maybe, the argument, it's not the strongest division, but I don't know about that. I think on the surface of things, if you judge him as an individual, he's such an amazing horse because he's so blue collar, right? Jersey bred, not that big old pedigree, but yet he shows up and has shown up consistently throughout his career. I mean, let's not forget what he did over in Dubai against Forever Young once upon a time. So this is a horse that has danced every big dance. I respect the connections so much for letting him thrive and show that he's a star in doing what he's meant to do, and that is be a sprinter.
There's some star power on that program this afternoon, too. You have the 5 greatest stakes, the Grade 1 Joe Hirsch Turf Classic, the Grade 3 Vosburg, which is a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup. You got the Grade 2 Woodward, the Grade 2 Gallant Bloom, the Grade 3 Belmont Turf Sprint. Talk about some of the storylines that fans can look forward to seeing this afternoon.
Well, I mean, there's not a great one when it comes to the Woodward, as that will likely stretch down to a 3-horse race. But I think that the 2 sprint races probably are the best betting races, one on the turf with that Belmont Sprint Championship, as well as the Vosburg. They just seem like they're a little bit more wide open. So obviously, you have some of the horses too in that Joe Hirsch Turf Classic and fighting for supremacy. I mean, how cool is it that we have Rebels Romance? He is the globe-trotting $14 million plus earner, and he'll be coupled with not coupled, I should say, but he'll be going against his stablemate and El Cordobés, who does come off of a big win in that Grade 1 Sword Dancer. And then you have Far Bridge, who is, arguably, as far as U.S.-based horses, the leader of the division.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic race, and it would be so great to see Far Bridge find a way to get to the winner's circle here. But as you mentioned, a horse like Rebels Romance is going to be a really tough out.
He really is. I was listening to an interview with Charlie Appleby, and somebody was interviewing him in England, and they asked him about this race here, and he said, yes, El Cordobés is the big up-and-comer. He's definitely a mile-and-a-half specialist, but it's not like I guess he regards Nation's Pride as his second tier. And he said it's not like he's going to be trying to run down Nation's Pride. He has the good old boy, Rebels Romance, to try to get past in the stretch for this race here. So I thought that was kind of telling that it sounds like Charlie respects, and at least as he should, holds Rebels Romance in a higher regard than obviously Nation's Pride, but as well as El Cordobés.
Maggie, when you start to look at maybe wagering on a race like the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic, where you're going to have a prohibitive favorite, even money on the morning line, Rebels Romance is going to take a ton of money, no value in betting him, obviously. How do you approach it? Do you try to find a horse to beat him, or do you just say, let me just sit back and be a fan and just watch this one?
Yeah, I think that's the way. You're only dealing with 5 horses in here, and for me, I'm having trouble seeing past him because, a horse like Far Bridge, who has done well, he needs things his way. And he's posed towards the outside. Granted, it's a shorter field. I did think that Rebel Red ran very well last time out, but he wasn't facing Rebels Romance. Redistricting ran huge last time out. He never looked like a loser in that United Nations. But again, he's not facing Rebels Romance in those races. So I think I just watch this one as a fan.
Yeah. How about the Belmont Turf Sprint? You mentioned that race, and that's going to be a really good one. It's race number 4 early in the program, 6 furlongs on the outer turf, 2:07 Eastern is the post. You said you thought this one was competitive. The favorite likely to be 26 Black from the barn of Horatio De Paz.
Whom I I've loved this horse from the get-go. But he was definitely beating up on some of his fellow New York breds last time out. And granted, I thought he ran tremendously behind Bring the Band Home, who was a tour de force in Saratoga in both of his outings up there this summer for Mark Casse. I have a little bit of an interest in a long shot, and that's number 1, Live High, Live Low, whom you isolate his turf sprints for George Weaver, whom we've seen just be so successful with these types, obviously throughout the year, especially with the juveniles. But So in his turf sprints, he's only had 3 of them, 2 second-place efforts behind respectable horses, posting some decent figures. And then last time out in the Laurel Dash, he got steady going into the turn. Then he tried to go through at the rail and literally bounced off of it, so checking severely in the stretch. So I feel like that's kind of a throw-out race. So now he gets to try this turf sprint here yet again. And I don't know, yes, if he's as good as some of these, but a lot of these horses have had long, kind of arduous campaigns, and this is only his 3rd start of the year. So I thought maybe as a fresh kind of new face, he was a bit intriguing.
How about the Vosburg? Who do you like in there?
The Vosburg is a tough one. You kind of have 3 separate groups of horses, right? You have the horses who faced Bookham Dano. That includes Scotland, who ran tremendously well in both of his starts in defeat up at Saratoga, as well as Crazy Mason, who was that deep closer. And, you could say, well, there looks to be a lack of pace, as it's been reported that Super Tal's meant to scratch. But he's overcome slow paces in the past, especially here at Aqueduct. And then, obviously Doc Sullivan's improved his form for Johnny Ortiz. Then you have a lot of people in reading the write-up to this race that are big fans of Patriot Spirit, whom it seems as though connections have been searching for his identity, but it feels like Michael Campbell has decided that he is a sprinter, and he has enough tactical speed that he is not going to be too far out of it. So maybe the one getting the first run. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if connections new connections with Baby Yoda, decide to use some speed. Ricardo Santana, always aggressive, and going for his first start off the $100,000 claim for Rob Falcone and Flying T. If they're not more aggressive with this guy, who, if you go 3 back, ran huge at Aqueduct. So it's probably the most interesting race. Do I think Scotland, you can make the argument that he is the horse to beat here? We don't really know who Patriot Spirit has been necessarily beating. Are those horses better than what he's facing here? I don't know. I would lean on the fact that that's not the case. And then you have some, horses that have been running against lesser, but do have some back form, like a horse like Baby Yoda. So to answer your question, can I wait and see what they look like in the paddock?
Well, you led me right into my next question. One of the things I've always enjoyed for years, Maggie, watching you as part of the coverage, is the fact that when you provide your analysis, you're coming at it from a handicapping standpoint, but you come at it after watching the horses in the paddock, and you see how they look physically. So, okay, a horse that's running in the Vosburg, these are sprinters. What characteristics do you look for in a sprinter that lead you to believe they can be good at that game?
So you want a horse that, is typically kind of engaged, is sharp, is keen, is eager, but not doing too much. Obviously, those real speed types, like a Super Chow, who we likely won't see, are very much on their toes and kind of showing that they are speed type. Now, a lot of these horses I have seen and do know quite well, they're not necessarily horses that get themselves revved up. Ironically, Crazy Mason's probably the one in this field that does get himself the sharpest, yet he is a deep, deep closer in these sprint races. But physically, you want horses that are really strong in their hindquarters. They tend to be more compact types. Thinking of a horse like Scotland, for instance, despite being a good Magic, he is a little bit more compact. He definitely has more of that Speightstown kind of blood showing in his physical makeup. So he's kind of the horse that I think physically truly represents a 7/8 type of runner.
How about in the Gallant Bloom? Anybody you're in love with in there?
The Gallant Bloom, I'm not covering that race, really, but You know,
but I know you'll come up with somebody for me because you're so good.
No, of course. I think it's incredibly interesting that Senza Parole was entered last Sunday in an allowance race where she looked to be, I don't want to say a heavy favorite, and granted, Chad had another horse in there that won quite easily that day, but she was like an early scratch. So it was like they saw something possibly in her workouts, in her morning training that told them, you know what, no, we're going to wait a week and we're going to go against Greatest Stakes Company in only her third start. And obviously she hinted at an abundance of talent in that maiden score, running, I think, the fastest race, definitely at least for a filly juvenile last year at Saratoga. So that kind of intangible with her makes her really, really intriguing in here. Obviously, Our Disaster, she's kind of your tried and true type of runner. She's run well. Going back to the Honorable Miss behind Alina's Forte, I do think she was with the racetrack possibly that day. She's gotten 2 wet tracks in her last 2 efforts, which arguably are her fastest, so she's not going to have that today. And then I wonder with a horse like Impel, them kind of turning her back in distance, what the game plan is with her. Scalable, she's been good, but it's a long layoff. You know, there's a lot of question marks, I think, with a lot of these horses in here, Mike, and honestly, I think that just pushes me more towards Senza Parole.
Talking with Maggie Morley, Fox Sports and NYRA analyst, does a tremendous job, doing a great job with this conversation, as always, here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Maggie, you mentioned the Woodward scratching down to potentially just 3 horses, and that breaks my heart. This is a race that has so much history. I mean, won by some of the greatest horses ever to step onto the racetrack. Forgo and Seattle Slew, a firm, spectacular bid, maybe the greatest of all time, and Holy Bull. I remember that sensational performance, right? And, of course, I'm a massive Holy Bull fan, so I always have to throw that in there. But, yeah, I mean, and now to have it down to just 3 horses, the race has really lost its luster over the past several years, and that really does break my heart.
It does mine, too. And I just finished, I might be a couple years late here, but I didn't read it. I listened to an audiobook, but Lexington, the book. And it's mentioned in there with regards to horses that, you know, were 2 centuries before this. So it really does. There's so much history when it comes to this race. And I agree with you. Obviously, they wanted to improve the Jockey Club Gold Cup because it was kind of suffering from the same sort of scenario that we're seeing with the Woodward. And so they flip-flopped them. They put them in each other's time slots. And this time slot for these older handicap division horses is just suffering, because we're getting so close to the Breeders' Cup. A lot of horses opting to train up, and there's just too many options for these horses. Obviously, with many of them deciding to go to Delaware and or Churchill. So, yes, it's truly a shame. It is an interesting field, though. I think it's, with the 3 horses, it's almost a game of cat and mouse, with Phileas Fogg being the fastest. But I can't see the other 2 just letting him completely stroll along on the front end.
The other 2 expected to remain in, along with Phileas Fogg, are?
Locked and Post Time.
Okay. All right. So 3 horses in that Woodward later today. 3:08 Eastern is the post. And you mentioned the strategy. It would become a rider's race for sure. I guess there's some intrigue there, but you still would like to see, 7, 8, 9, 10 horses and some of the top handicap horses, if you will, in the country, or older horses in the country going in the Woodward. Maybe that'll happen again one day, but as you said, it's a tough spot on the calendar right now.
It really is. I think, maybe our racing secretaries from across the Eastern Seaboard kind of need to get together possibly and map something out where a race like the Woodward isn't lost to lack of participation because, like you said, it has so much history.
Yep, so much history, so much tradition. Maggie, listen, I appreciate the visit. Always fantastic to catch up. Enjoy this weekend, and the big weekend next weekend is going to be spectacular. Enjoy it all, and we will be tuned in and watching.
Mike, thank you so much for having me.
All right. Fox Sports NYRA analyst Maggie Morley. What a job she does. And another great appearance here on the show. All right. Coming up next, we go from New York to Iowa and Prairie Meadows, where they are hosting the Iowa Classic. You got the Iowa Cradle. All of those big races taking place today. I will welcome Kristal Freese, who is the president of the ITBOA. She'll talk about the success of that program. That's next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Will you accept the Breeders' Cup Challenge? The chance to compete against the best in the world? The chance to race for a piece of over $34 million in purses and awards? The chance to be a champion. Winning a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race gives you the chance to do just that, with an invitation to horse racing's biggest event of the year, the Breeders' Cup World Championships in Del Mar, where finish lines become the start of a legacy and starting gates shine on the world stage. Win a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race and earn an automatic starting position in a Breeders' Cup race. Entry fees paid by the Breeders' Cup, a Nominator Award of $10,000, travel awards, and so much more. Here, winning a Challenge Series race is just the beginning. View the schedule of Challenge Series races happening around the world and learn more at breederscup.com/challenge.
Thinking about getting into racehorse ownership? There's no better time and no better place than right here in Iowa. Owning an Iowa-bred thoroughbred means more money, more perks, and more chances to win. With one of the most lucrative state-bred incentive programs in the country, Iowa-bred horses run for bigger purses, breeder and owner bonuses, and restricted races with less competition. Whether you're just starting out or already in the game, Iowa-breds give you a better return on your investment. Support local, win local. Own an Iowa-bred. Brought to you by the Iowa Thoroughbred Breeders and Owners Association.
His sire is one of the most exciting young stallions in the world. His dam has become one of the most important brood mares in the industry. And on the first Saturday in May, his genetic brilliance shined brightest on racing's biggest stage.
They come into the final 16th, and it is going to be Mage to win the Kentucky Derby.
Mage, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
In the heat of competition, every breath matters. Flair Equine nasal strips are clinically proven to reduce airway resistance. By protecting their lungs, you can reduce the risk of VIPH, quicken recovery, and optimize performance. Make a difference in every race and every stride with a product backed by science and trusted by top trainers. Trust Flair for every horse, every breath. Learn the science at flairstrips.com. That's flairstrips.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Patio from Tokyo is fifth. He's got to do better, though. Patio from Tokyo, 5 lengths off the lead and really not gaining ground at this point, and they're at the top of the stretch with Crux turning them on in. It's Crux showing the way as they head to the final furlong. Which way did he go is on the chase. Warboy not doing enough. Bright Journey the outside, and they're all trying to catch Crux, and nobody's going to do it. Crux and Kevin Roman going to take them all the way at 11-1. Out matchup for second, a 3-way photo for the show doe.
That's our very own Bobby Newman and the voice of Prairie Meadows with the call of Crux with that maiden win at Prairie Meadows on August 9th. Came in the 7th race. Crux back in action in the Iowa Cradle later today. One of 8 stakes races slated on the Prairie Meadows program. And let me tell you, the racing is fantastic there. It's a day where we celebrate Iowa breds and the Iowa program. And that Cradle is always a lot of fun to watch. And Crux looked the part in that first win. We'll see if he can continue to move forward in his next step up the ladder. Kristal Freese is the president of the Iowa Thoroughbred Breeders and Owners Association. She joins us now. Kristal, good morning.
Good morning.
What a day to be an Iowa bred, huh?
Yes, we've got 8
stakes races today. They're going to be exciting. You mentioned that race. We're also going to have Wild Atlantic Storm, who was a winner of the Springboard Mile. He's going up against Glengarry, who won the Lafayette Stakes at Keeneland, and they're going to go head-to-head in the Dan Johnson Sprint tonight. So that's going to be a race worth watching, too.
Yeah, I love Glengarry.
Yep, he's always a strong contender, so I'm looking forward to that race. It should be very competitive. And we've also got one of my favorites in the Iowa Classic Distaff Sprint, Demi Danu. She actually sold through our fall sale for $4,500, and this filly mare has earned over $473,000. So that's just, shows how good our breeding program has become in the state.
You have to be so proud of these Iowa breds that travel from Iowa and go out to these other spots. You mentioned Keeneland and some of the other races, the Springboard Mile, and they compete. And they not only compete, they win races at those other racetracks. You have to be extremely proud.
We are. And we've got Chicheng Glory. He's running over in Hong Kong and doing quite well, too. So there's another one that was an Iowa bred. And probably, I don't know if everybody knows of him since he is racing overseas, but there's another one that we've got.
Wow. What's been the key to this success in recent years?
I think, we've got our stallion auction that we've promoted, and the foals through those go through our stakes races that we have. We've got our new mare incentive that we rolled out in 2019, so that helped attract some new mares that had never foaled in Iowa before, or that were maidens. That helped us attract some horses. And then, we are lucky enough that we've got it mandated through our law that we have to run at least a guaranteed 67 days race meet. And we also have that a minimum of 11% of Prairie Meadows net gaming receipts have to go towards our purses. So, of course, that fluctuates year to year how how well the casino does, how much they give to us. But that just helps incentivize folks to come here to Iowa. Plus, I don't know if you've ever been here to Iowa personally, to our Prairie Meadows, to our track.
I have, yeah.
We've got one of the cleanest and nicest backsides you're going to find, in my opinion. We've also started a food pantry for our folks. We've got a clothing closet that folks can come in and get clothes. We offer, our HBPA offers rides to like Walmart and grocery stores. We also have on-site dental that comes, I think it's either once or twice a month. And we've just got a lot of things. We're trying to bring people here. We'd like to get people excited about coming to Iowa.
Kristal, it's interesting you bring up the conditions and the different the conditions of the backside, and then the different things that you offer for backside employees. I remember having a conversation with Colonial Downs earlier this year, and we were talking about a similar thing at Colonial. That's a huge selling point for any racetrack when you start trying to recruit horsemen to stable at your track. If you can offer all those different things to the backside community, it means a lot.
And Altoona is just a nice town. I mean, I'm bragging on Iowa here, but it's just a nice, clean, safe town. And I'm not, disrespecting any other places, but I've been to a few tracks, and it's kind of like I feel a little nervous once I leave the gates.
Yeah.
And get outside. But yeah, I would say, I'd love to people, if they haven't been here, come up for the races or come up and see our backside. I'd love to have more trainers come up.
You mentioned the mare incentive program.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Okay, so for that one, it's mares that have never foaled before or have never foaled in Iowa, so either a maiden or one that's never foaled in Iowa before. They foal here in the state, and then if the foal becomes the leading money earner at Prairie Meadows, the breeder can earn a $10,000 bonus. And then, of course, we've got our incentives for when those foals run. Our purses here, we've got Iowa bred purse supplements for our races. So when they run in a restricted Iowa bred race, the owners get a 32% supplement bonus for places 1st through 4th. And if they run an open company, that goes up to a 40% owner award for 1st through 4th. We are capping that at $50,000 per race. But then our breeder awards, they actually equal 12% of the winner's share of the purse won by an Iowa bred in the state of Iowa. And it is restricted to state of Iowa. And those are paid at the end of the year. And then that's for a first place horse. Breeders get 6% for horses that place 2nd through 4th. So we've got some good incentives. Now on the mare, she can only, that new mare bonus, that's only a one-time thing because she's only a new mare once. And she does, in our eyes, and she has to be in the state. I believe it is December 15th. Now she has to be in the state and inspected by our Department of Agriculture. So she gets that Iowa bred designation for the following year.
Visiting with ITBOA President Kristal Freese here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Kristal, when you have a day like this, 8 stakes races, Iowa breds in the spotlight in all of them, what does a day like this mean to the overall state of the industry or health of the industry in Iowa?
I think it just helps us celebrate how far we've come and looking forward to the future. I mean, like I said, we've got some horses in these races that they've run outside the state. They've won outside the state. It just showcases what we do have. And the crowds come out and they get excited. Another horse we've got running tonight in the Iowa Breeders' Oaks is this Canojo. She has won both the Hawkeyes Handicap and the Iowa Stallion Filly Stakes this year, and her sire was dialed in. He sold it through our stallion auction, and her dam was the Iowa bred My Woman from Tokyo, which I'm sure folks are familiar with here too. She was a multiple stakes winner here in the state and won over $500,000 for her connections. So it's just great to see these horses come up and then to see their progeny come up and just feel like we've got a solid product here. It just helps us showcase when we have these big stakes races.
Kristal, you are also an Iowa bred, but you're not a Hawkeye. You're a Cyclone, right?
Cyclone, yes. I bleed yellow and gold.
No black and gold for you.
Yeah, I went to Iowa State University. I actually was pre-vet med over there, and then decided that maybe another 5 years of schooling on top of the first 4 was not going to happen. So I pivoted into a career in financial services.
Have you always been horse crazy, even from a young age?
Oh, yes. I'm sure my parents would say the first word I said was horse when I was a child. And I had the typical snotty pony as a kid growing up. And we used to show paints, my husband and I, back in the day. And then I made the mistake of going to the racetrack one night and sitting down next to who at the time I didn't realize was Danny Caldwell, who is the leading owner at Prairie Meadows. We got into a conversation, and he's like, hey, if you're really interested in this, I can hook you up with some people, and we can get you into this. Into this game, and here I am, 7 years later.
Wow. And you served as president of the Iowa Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association since 2023. What led to that point in your life?
I guess I just was hoping that to continue to do more for our industry, to support our members. I just wanted to be involved, just not sit on the sidelines. So I decided I'd step up and take a swing at being the president.
Brandy Jo Fett is the executive director of the ITBOA, and we work closely together. Iowa Thoroughbred, always so supportive of what we do here on the network. But Brandy is just fantastic, and she's running several horses today.
She is, yes, she is.
Yeah, she has several horses in those stakes races, does a great job. I reached out to her earlier this week, and I said, hey, Brandy, because she usually joins me for this conversation. I said, hey, Brandy, what do you think of coming on the show Saturday morning? She goes, well, I'm running like 8 horses, so I don't know when I'm going to have time. How does she have time to do that and serve as the executive director? That's remarkable.
She's very dedicated, and she puts in a lot of hours during the race meets. So hats off to her. I'm not sure how she manages it all.
Kristal, what else are you looking forward to with this program here this evening?
I'm looking forward to some very competitive races. I'm looking forward to seeing folks because, I'll be down there in the winner's circle handing out our trophies, and it's just always an exciting time. People are excited. It's just nice to see, like I said, competitive races, see everybody one final time. It's also a little bit of a sad time because our meet's wrapping up. So some of our owners and trainers, I won't see them now for several months unless I happen to run into them at other tracks. So it's just an exciting time. Just looking forward to it.
Enjoy every minute. It's going to be a great night, and I know you're going to have a lot of fun. So appreciate the visit here this morning, Kristal. Let's keep it rolling in Iowa.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Kristal Freese, president of the ITBOA, here on HRRN. Coming up next, you're going to hear from trainer Dan Blacker. He prepares to saddle last year's Breeders' Cup Sprint winner, Straight No Chaser, in tomorrow's Santa Anita Sprint Championship. We'll go down the road to the Breeders' Cup with Dan Blacker in the next segment. Still to come, though, your Kentucky bred update. Get a chance to tell you about all the incentives of racing and breeding in the Bluegrass State. Hour 3 comes up at 10 o'clock Eastern. It kicks off with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Ashley Anderson will give you 3 races to watch and wager on with TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. Part 2 of his story about the Brilliant Moms Command. You heard part 1 last week. If you missed it, you can go catch up with that segment on our website and then listen to part 2. And then at 10:30 Eastern, I Ask, They Answer. Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin will join me for the final segment of the show. That's going to be a lot of fun. One of the things I'm bringing up to them is in regards to Baeza, who finally broke through. He got that Grade 1 win on his resume last weekend in the Pennsylvania Derby. Now, he didn't have to face sovereignty. He didn't have to face journalism. Doesn't take away from his win. He's a Grade 1 winner. But was that win enough to convince Dal and Tim to buy Baeza as a legitimate win candidate in the Breeders' Cup Classic? When he gets there, he's going to face sovereignty, likely journalism, unless he ends up going to the Dirt Mile or something, but likely journalism. Sierra Leone, the defending champion, in there. Mindframe, who is going to train up to the Classic. He's going to hook the best of the best. Is that win in Pennsylvania, that breakthrough performance, enough to convince Dale and Tim to be a buyer? I'll ask him that question and many more coming up at the end of the show. Going down the road to the Breeders' Cup with Dan Blacker next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The September meet at Churchill Downs is off and running with live racing Wednesday through Sunday, now through September 28th. A total of 11 stakes will be contested across the September meet, featuring the $500,000 Lucas Classic, the $400,000 Locust Grove, and the kickoff to the Road to the Kentucky Derby and Oaks with the $300,000 Iroquois and $300,000 Pocahontas. The September meet will run Wednesday through Sunday. First post is 12:45 p.m. most days, with a special 5 p.m. first post each Thursday for Twilight Thursday. Horse players will have plenty of opportunities to score at the meet with a new $3 late pick 3 with a low 15% takeout rate. For more information about the September meet, visit ChurchillDowns.com and follow Churchill Downs on all social media platforms.
And they're off. Join the Maryland Jockey Club in celebrating the 40th running of Jim McKay Maryland Million Day on Saturday, October 11th at Laurel Park. Come with friends and family to Maryland's Day at the Races as we showcase Maryland sires with over $1 million in purses.
Maryland, a foundation of greatness, a bright future ahead. Meet us at Laurel Park on Saturday, October 11th. Visit laurelpark.com for details. First post, 11:30 a.m.
Dear racing fans, we've been waiting for you. We've been working, prepping, training, putting together thrilling races, high stakes, favorite traditions, and fresh experiences. From right on the rail to the top of the hill. Whether it's your first meet or your 50th, we can't wait to welcome you back this fall. Love, Keeneland.
Join us at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races on Saturday, October 11th for the 39th Annual West Virginia Breeders' Classics. It's the premier night of racing for West Virginia breds on the Charlestown calendar. The all-stakes 10-race card is headlined by the $300,000 Sam Huff West Virginia Breeders' Classic, with over $1 million in purses up for grabs on the night. The best West Virginia breds in training get their time to shine under the lights at Charlestown. It's the 39th Annual West Virginia Breeders' Classics here at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races.
See the state's top thoroughbreds and quarter horses compete for year-end honors in the 6th Annual Indiana Champions Day, Saturday, October 25th at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Plus, enjoy a free cigar rolling station for those 21 years of age and older, along with handicapping contests, $3,000 mega bet wagers, winner's circle giveaways, and more. Indiana Champions Day, presented by Indiana Breed Development, Saturday, October 25th at 11 a.m. More information available at HS Indy Racing, located off I-74 at exit 109 in Shelbyville.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Make him another 2 lengths more to Wilkin, who's got 5 lengths to make up with a quarter mile to do it. Then Don Frankie on the inside. Federal Judge turning for home with a narrow lead over Ben Tornado. The two of them locked in battle, and Straight No Chaser joins the fray on the outside with 1 furlong to run. Ben Tornado and Straight No Chaser, these two coming down to the line together. Straight No Chaser and Ben Tornado. Straight No Chaser in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Ben Tornado was second, and then it was Mulligan and Gun Pilot in 108.62.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. That was Larry Colmus with the call of last year's Breeders' Cup Sprint, won by Straight No Chaser for trainer Dan Blacker, owner's My Racehorse. John Velasquez was the winning rider. He will be back aboard tomorrow in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. The first time we've seen Straight No Chaser on the racetrack in the afternoons since the Grade 1 Dubai Golden Shaheen on April 5th. Dan Blacker is with me now to go down the road to the Breeders' Cup. Dan, appreciate the visit, my friend.
Hey, Mike, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing great. Listen, I put a poll question out there for our listeners this morning, as I do every week, and I'm asking which horse should be considered the top contender for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Bookham Dano, who has been brilliant in New York at Saratoga this summer, or Straight No Chaser, who is just making his return to the races tomorrow, or the third category was other, but not many people choosing that. Defend your player. Why should Straight No Chaser be the horse to beat?
Well, he's the defending champion. No disrespect to Bookham Dano. You know, they've done a great job with him to win those races, and all those races in New York is a huge achievement in itself. Certainly that horse is, if you look at them as it stands today, I mean, he's the rightful favorite based on his record this year. But, you know, I think Straight No Chaser, he's going to prove hopefully tomorrow that he should be the worthy favorite and the horse to beat.
Yeah, so far 78% of our listeners voting for Bookham Dano, and no surprise there. He's the horse that's been out there throughout the summer and doing his thing and doing it extremely well, as you pointed out. But I come back to what we saw last year with Straight No Chaser, Dan, and I pointed this out when I introduced the poll question earlier in the show, that the pattern with Straight No Chaser coming into this year's Santa Anita Sprint Championship is not much different than what we saw last year, where he finished 4th in the Grade 3 Run Happy on May 11th, then came back to the races and won the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. Here we haven't seen him since April 5th. You're doing the same thing with him again here in 2025.
Yeah, it's funny. It looks similar on paper, but actually under the, if you look at it in a little more detail, it wasn't really the same. I mean, last year we brought him back in that race at Aqueduct, and he stumbled out of the gate, and that was put a line through it. He was actually entered in the Bing Crosby in July, and we scratched the week of the race when we entered. He came up with an issue right in the last minute, so we had to pass on that race, and then ended up back at San Benito because of that, and then not by design, but that's how it planned out, and it ended up working out great when we got to the Breeders' Cup. But this year, obviously, he had a great win in the Breeders' Cup, and then followed up with another super impressive win in Saudi, and then we went on to Dubai, and there were just a lot of things that went against us in Dubai. It wasn't his day that day. I'm not going to get into it, but. So after that, getting him back, and I wanted to give him some time after that trip. And the Bing Crosby was the obvious target. And, once I had a day in my charts that we needed to start gearing him up for the Bing Crosby. And that was towards the end of May. And he just wasn't quite ready to really start cranking up for that race at that time. And so I just wanted to give him a bit more time. And coming off an average, the run at Dubai, I wanted to, ensure that we ran him 6 furlongs and at home. And there's only one option. If you miss the Bing Crosby, it's the Santa Anita Sprint. So I talked to all the partners. We have more groups invested in the horse this year because he is going to be a stallion next year, and talked to everyone, and we felt like waiting for this race was the best plan, all things considered.
He's had so many starts and stops to his career, and he's continued to just show up almost every single time you lead him over there. Dan, that's a testament to you and to the team, but it's also a testament to this horse.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's just such a pro. He's got so much desire to be a great racehorse. Obviously he's got the talent, and it's just always right from the word go. He's just showed an immense amount of talent. But what separates him from other good horses, what makes him great, he wants it. He just has this desire to be competitive and to run as hard as he can, and you just take him out there and let him go, and he'll do everything you ask of him. And that's what makes him so great. And I hope that is what's going to make him a great stallion too. If he can pass, that's what makes great stallions, is that ability to pass that X factor down to the offspring. And hopefully, I think he has every chance to do it if he gets some mares.
What has he shown you in his training over the past couple of months that leads you to believe we're going to see a performance similar to what we saw last year in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship?
He's always been an exceptional workhorse. And, you just see this talent in the mornings. You see fast works on paper, but he just does them so effortlessly. And, he's always been a great workhorse right from the first day I worked him to today. I haven't really seen a change in the way he specifically he does his works. He's always been superstar workhorse. So that hasn't changed this year since we brought him back from Dubai and started gearing him up for this race over the summer. All his works have just been very effortless and very fast and very impressive. So coming into this race, it seems like we got the same horse, and I'm fingers crossed it pans out tomorrow.
It's a solid race. I know he's 7-5 on the morning line tomorrow, but you have Imagination on the outside post from Bob Baffer, who's cutting back in distance, and Dr. Venkman just to his inside in post position number 1. When he's on his A game, he is really tough. Size up the competition for me here a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's a tough race. I think we're short price favorite, but I think there's it's certainly not there's some really nice horses in there. I think I would have preferred to be drawn outside. I think, our best runs have been coming from outside. It gives the horse the chance to kind of, if there's a hot pace, he can switch off and drop back a little. But like being inside's not ideal. Having said that, it looks like the other speed is Speedboat Beach. I mean, if Straight No Chaser, he's really quick out of the gate. So if he's on his game, he'll be going at it. He'll be running, and we're not going to be probably taking him back. So I'd say like Speedboat Beach is the other. There's a couple of speed horses on there other than Speedboat Beach, and then the horses coming from off it look like Dr. Venkman and Imagination. Those are two graded stakes winners and look super tough coming from off the pace. So it's a solid field. We're favorite, but it's not going to be an easy race.
I love the fact that the Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it, Johnny V, says, "Okay, I'll make the trip back out there and ride him because that's going to be my Breeders' Cup Sprint horse." I love that he thinks enough of this horse to make that trip again.
Well, man, I just owe Johnny so much. I've been friends with him since I worked for Albertrani back east, and just to have a chance for him to be on this horse is I owe a lot of his success down to the rider. And Johnny, just having him in the irons, it's one thing I don't have to worry about. You're just going to have a smart ride, and he's a big part of this horse's success. And the horse, he doesn't want to be told what to do. He just wants to run his race on his terms. And Johnny he sensed that the first time he got on him, and he allows the horse to do that. And that's really the key to seeing this horse unleash like his full potential. And so I think you can see that on the PPs. But it's certainly something. It's after Dubai, we got back and I talked to Johnny's agent, Kieran McLaughlin, and I kind of gave him an idea of what races would be likely for his return, and this was one of them. And as we went through the year, I felt more confident with this race would be his starting point back, and he was never for a moment was he. And in terms of me talking about not coming out. So he loves the horse. He's confident and about the horse, and as am I, obviously.
Yeah, here's Johnny V in his early 50s and continues to he's experiencing one of the better years of his career here at age, 53. The guy's remarkable. He just continues to get it done. And people like Johnny and Mike Smith, who just continue to show up in these big races and continue to perform as they get later in their careers, is, man, kudos to them.
Yeah, I know. As I said, I feel really lucky, fortunate to have Johnny in the irons. It's he's just a great rider, and he's obviously been a great partner with this horse.
Dan, you've done everything right so far. Let's keep it rolling with Straight No Chaser coming up here tomorrow. Really appreciate you joining me early from the West Coast. Go get it done, my friend. We'll be cheering.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right, Dan Blacker going down the road to the Breeders' Cup. That segment presented every week by our friends at Breeders' Cup. We continue to edge closer to the World Championships. In case you're wondering, now just 33 days, 12 hours, 41 minutes, and 40 seconds away. Straight No Chaser, indeed a Kentucky-bred son of Speightster, bred by John Eaton and Steve Lehman. 7 for 12 lifetime, $2.6 million in earnings. We'll see if he can take the next step toward his title defense in this year's Breeders' Cup Breeders' Cup Sprint. He's not going in the Classic. I don't think he'd do all that great there, but who knows? He's a tough racehorse, but definitely a title defense in the Breeders' Cup Sprint forthcoming for Straight No Chaser if he delivers tomorrow. Time for your monthly Kentucky Bred update, where I remind you that it pays to race and breed in the Bluegrass. A record $20 million in awards was paid to breeders participating in the Kentucky Thoroughbred Breeders Incentive Fund program for racing in 2024. Think about that, $20 million. KBIF has provided more than $250 million to breeders of Kentucky breds, winning eligible races worldwide since the program was implemented in 2005. Kentucky remains one of the leading racing jurisdictions, averaging a near record high purse per race, $112,648. That's the purse per race, and an average field size of 8.9 in 2024. Kentucky breds, well, they top all earners. Kentucky breds dominate the earnings list through September, with all of the top 20 spots claimed by horses from the Bluegrass State. Leading the pack is multiple Grade 1 winner Sovereignty, who has earned over $5.6 million. He's followed by multiple Grade 1 winner Journalism. He's pretty good, too. He banked more than $3.8 million. And White Abario, who has amassed earnings of more than $1.9 million this season. In England, Kentucky bred Scandinavia made it back-to-back Group 1 triumphs with an impressive score in the Group 1 St. Leger, which gave Kentucky breds 2 British Classic victories this year, following Ruling Court's win in the Group 1 2000 Guinness. Breed them, raise them, race them. We all win. For more information on racing and breeding in Kentucky, visit KentuckyBreds.com. I'll take a look at a date or two in racing history when I come back. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcasts using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
2 hours down, 1 to go. When Dale and Tim join me in the third hour of the program, one of the things I'm going to bring up to them is the anniversary of Aqueduct opening its doors. That happened today, September 27th, 1894. So that's the anniversary here on this Saturday morning. We'll share some of our favorite memories about Aqueduct in light of that particular anniversary. September 27th, 1947, armed Then the world's leading money-winning thoroughbred met 1946 Kentucky Derby winner Assault in the first $100,000 winner-take-all match race. It was held at Belmont Park. Armed earned an easy victory over Assault, who wasn't really in peak racing condition. And one more for you. This is tomorrow. I just thought this was a cool one. September 28th, 1960, 40 years after Man of War won the Lawrence Realization Stakes by 100 lengths. 100 lengths in record time of 2 minutes, 40 seconds, and 4/5. Kelso equaled his time in the same event. Again, that was September 28th, 1960. A couple of great ones there, huh? Man of War, Kelso. All right, hour 3 straight ahead kicks off with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Ashley Anderson has 3 races for you to watch and wager on with TwinSpires this afternoon, and plenty more content included in that third hour of the show. If your local station is leaving us at this time, continue listening to Hour 3 nationwide on SiriusXM and streaming worldwide at horseracingradio.net. Lots to get to. It comes your way next, right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
It's Cody's Wish and a very tough accretive who continues to battle on as they hit the 16th pole. Cody's Wish now edges clear, and Cody's Wish back to sprinting, back to winning today in the Vosburg.
Big Blue Kitten comes through on the inside. It's a photo finish. Did Big Blue Kitten just get up in the final strides, or did Little Mike hold on? It was too close to call here in the Joe Hirsch.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Johannes up to take the lead. Du Jour has surfaced with his rally, and Trickery is in fourth. A 16th to go, and Johannes puts away Conclude and opens up another dazzling display for Johannes to win the City of Hope Mile.
But Game On Dude's full of run. He's finding more. Game On Dude goes on. Awesome Gem finishing stoutly down the center of the track. But it's going to be Game On Dude to win it. And Game On Dude and Chantel Sutherland have taken the Goodwood Stakes.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Welcome back, Hour 3 of the Equine Forum on this Saturday morning, all presented by our friends at TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. One more hour to go, and it is loaded with more content, including this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Ashley Anderson will join me momentarily to give you 3 races to watch and wager on later this afternoon with TwinSpires. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History comes your way at 10:20. Part 2 of the story that he began to tell you last week, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story coming your way at 10:20. Great story about Mom's Command. You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for Dale and Tim coming up at 10:30 Eastern with I Ask, They Answer. But without further ado, we say hello to Ashley Anderson and kick off this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing pretty well. You really caught me off guard with that throwback, too, and now the rest of the story. I used to hear that all the time as a kid. My grandma would always have that on the radio.
Yeah, it was great. We had a listener write in, and we always welcome listener suggestions if they have a topic or a story they want Kurt to write about. And Mom's Command came up, and he said, I have so much content on Mom's Command. I can split this into 2 halves. And I said, that was the first thing that popped into my head was, the way Paul Harvey used to do that, right? And now the rest of the story. So brilliant.
Yeah, I remember it very, very well. It would throw me off as a kid because I was like, wait, did I miss the story? What happened?
Those were so good. And you know what else has been good? These selections over the past few weeks here on the TwinSpires Triple Play. And Ashley, I know you're going to continue that hot streak that we've been on, if you will. And I'm looking forward to your 3 races that you've chosen today. All 3 are coming from Churchill Downs.
Right. It's the second to last day of the September meet. So I figured I'd stick to Churchill Downs, and we have 2 graded stakes. And I'll also have race 9, which kicks off that $3 late pick 3, which has been a really popular wager during this September meet.
All right, let's do it. That special wager, as we talk about this quite often, TwinSpires always is offering special wagers and incentives for their players. But today, really a fun day to be playing the races with TwinSpires.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also, of course, have a money-back offer, which is going to be in races 5, 8, and 9. Race 8 is the Grade 3 ACAC, which is one of the races I'm going to talk about here. And then we'll also, for closing day, have a late pick 3 promo. So it's a hit it and split it, and it's a $3,000 hit it and split it at TwinSpires. So just opt in at TwinSpires.com or the app if you want to play that $3 late pick 3 on Sunday for closing day, but also, of course, opt in for that money back offer for the Saturday races, the 3 that I mentioned, race 5, 8, and 9.
All right, let's jump into the 3 races you've chosen for our listeners on this Saturday morning. Races 8, 9, and 10 at Churchill. The first race, race number 8, is the Grade 3 ACAC 1 mile on the main track with a purse of $400,000. Most wanted from the inside for Brad Cox. Brad has a lot of big-time horses running on this Saturday program, but most wanted 6 to 5 on the morning line could be a bit of a handful. Are you going most wanted's way, or are you going a different way?
I will say most wanted is going to be very tough. 6 to 5 on the morning line, so I don't love the short price, but should be respected. I am going to try to play a better price. But I will throw this out. So most wanted 3 for 3 at a mile, has never finished worse than second from 4 starts at Churchill, and he might get an easy lead. So, the 4 cross-entered for Sunday as well, but the 4 I don't even think necessarily has the speed to really press most wanted too much for that early lead. So I'm a little concerned about that, but I still think there's a lot of upside with number 2, Will Take It, at 7 to 2. And this is a horse that transferred to Dallas Stewart's barn this season and has since gone 4 for 6. His 2 losses in that span were runner-up finishes, and he's currently on a 2-win streak racing at the mile distance. He posted a triple-digit Brisnet speed figure when he won the Hanshin at Churchill in 1:34.10, so a very fast time. And Dallas said the goal is to have a big performance in the ACAC and then look to the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. So he obviously sees upside and will take it. This is a horse that's moving up in class, has raced at the graded stakes level in the past with a different trainer, but moving back up in class and hopefully going to do a little bit better this time racing in a Grade 3. He comes from off the pace, and like I said, most wanted's going to go to the front. Might have an easy lead, but I think the 2 is worth taking a shot, especially looking at how this horse has really progressed since moving to Dallas Stewart's barn.
If anybody in this race is going to keep most wanted company on the front end and maybe soften him up just enough for your top pick, which horse are you looking toward to keep him company?
Honestly, I think that Tumbarumba could be in the mix. If you look at when that horse ran in the ACAC last year, he did go to the front, and it was over a sloppy track, and the fractions were pretty good that day at Churchill, and I think we might see that horse try to go to the front. But last out, when winning a stakes race at Ellis, Tumbarumba did sit right off the early pace setter before being able to get up by a neck at the wire. So tactically, I'm not sure what the plan is there, but I think because there's a lack of early speed, the 6 might go to the front as well. But I think that Tumbarumba might have a shot if that horse were to try to go out there with most wanted and compete for that early lead.
Is there any chance, even a snowball's chance in hell, that 3 Technique finds a way to defend his title in here? He's 30 to 1 on the morning line.
Yeah, that horse, it's hard to say. I feel like Jason Cook can get that horse ready when you least expect it. And I mean, he was about 5 to 1 when he won the ACAC last year. Did well over that sloppy track. It should be fast when the ACAC goes off, today. But this horse is on a losing streak right now, a 5-race losing streak, and really hasn't been too close in those last 5 starts. But
it hasn't won since the ACAC last year.
Right. The thing is that horse has been racing shorter and, stretching back out to a mile, but a little concerned about the form, just the fact that the speed figures are lighter, and went up against Tumbarumba, and this is Usker, who's the 4, went up against those 2 at Ellis 2 back in the R.A. Cowboy Jones Stakes and was a distant 5th that day. So going up against similar company, hasn't necessarily fared well recently, but did beat Tumbarumba in the ACAC last year. Tumbarumba being the runner-up by a length and a half that day.
All right, so for Ashley, she'll kick off this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Race 8 at Churchill. She'll take number 2. Will take it 7-2 on the morning line, looking for a mild upset in there. Race number 9, not a stakes race, but a really good allowance race on the main track. Mile and a 16th. Purse of $141,000. It's an optional claimer, $100,000. Tell me a little bit more about this race. Who do you like?
So this will be that start of the $3 late pick 3, and I did feel this race was a little tricky. You got Pigalle in there, who's done well in the past, but last 3 starts just hasn't fared too well, but also race on the turf last out. You have the morning line favorite, Perfect Shot, who's on a 2-win streak right now for Steve Asmussen, and does have a horse for the course angle, 2 wins, 2 seconds from 5 starts at Churchill. Standout Sensation looks like that horse is in good form as well, but 1 for 6 at Churchill and 1 for 10 for the distance. So I wanted to try to make a case for a long shot here. This field feels a little bit all over the place, but I went with number 4 in Just My Heels. This is a filly for Ron Moquette, who is coming back to Churchill now, race at Churchill 2 back in the grade 3 Shawnee. And Just My Heels has been facing Stakes Company in her last 5 starts. But if you go 6 starts back, when she was facing Allowance Company at a mile and a 16th, she got the win by 2.5 lengths that day, got a 93% speed figure. And in her last five starts against Allowance Company, has won 4 of those starts. So going with that class drop angle, has won 3 times, finished second twice, and third 1 time from 12 starts. So in the money 6 times from 12 starts at this distance that she's running today. She comes from off the pace, but going back down to Allowance Company, I think she has a shot at a good price, 15-1.
Yeah, big price in there. That would be a wonderful way to kick off leg 2 of this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. How about leg 3, Ashley? That's the grade 2 Lucas Classic, mile and an 1/8 on the main track. Figures to be a good one. You got the defending champion Hit Show back in here. You have Derby winner Mystic Dan taking him on. Should be a really good race.
Yeah, and this is the time that I am using a high-profile Brad Cox horse. I'm going with number 2, Hit Show, that defending champ from last year in this race, who stalked the early pace before dueling the stretch and prevailed by a neck last year in the Lucas Classic. Came back and raced at Keeneland and won the grade 2 Fayette at Keeneland before coming back to Churchill for the Clark in the fall meet. Finished 3rd that day, but was placed 5th via DQ for interference in the stretch. And then, went longer at Santa Anita, didn't do so well that day. Then went over to Dubai, though, and had a huge upset in the Dubai World Cup. Came back to the U.S., didn't really factor in the Stephen Foster. So it has been a little all over the place. But also I'm going to excuse the fact that this horse went over to Dubai, came back to Churchill, didn't run the best in the Stephen Foster, but then last out did go down to a non-graded stakes race at Mountaineer and won with a 103% speed figure, moves back up in class, coming off a layoff. Brad Cox's high percentage off layoffs of 46 to 90 days, very high percentage in graded stakes, of course. His horse is working out very well at Churchill Downs. Florent Giroux, the regular rider, going to have the mount. So I decided to go with Hit Show, coming off the pace. You're going to have the 1 go to the front, and you're going to have the 4 as well, kind of push that pace. Mystic Dan is in this field, comes from off the pace, but going to have a rider switch, of course, with Brian Hernandez with his injury. So, got this new variable because Mystic Dan has always pretty much been paired up with Brian. And then Rattle and Roll, stablemate of Mystic Dan, comes from off the pace too, but this horse is making its first start since racing overseas. So I decided with Hit Show being back here now a little bit more regularly in the U.S., and with that big speed figure last out, I think comes back and wins the Lucas Classic 2nd straight year.
Do you get much of a chance to disarm or banishing who are breaking from the 2 outside posts, 6 and 7, respectively?
So with banishing, that horse is interesting. Has gone to the front, has gotten good wins with David Jacobson, Tyler Gaffalione as a board, and Tyler and David Jacobson pairing up the last 24 starts together, winning at a 29% rate, positive ROI. Certainly could be dangerous. Overall, though, 1 for 8 at Churchill, and just has 1 win from 4 starts at this distance of a mile and an 1/8. I ended up, the horse has proven that it can win at a mile and an 1/8. Did that in the Charlestown Classic last out. But breaking from the outside, tends to go to the front. Decided to play against that horse. I said there's other early speed as well to contend with, and I think it does set up better for an off-the-pace runner. Disarm is an off-the-pace runner, but on a bit of a losing streak and was a distant 6th last out, racing a mile and a quarter, but really wasn't involved in that race, and ended up actually moving up to 5th through a DQ, but still just wasn't a factor last race, and the Whitney wasn't really much of a factor. So I just feel like Disarm is one that if I play that horse, I tend to play it to finish 2nd or 3rd, and really I think more so has a chance for 3rd or 4th in this race.
All right, let's recap Ashley's TwinSpires triple play for this Saturday morning. Race number 8, she'll go with number 2. We'll take it at 7-2. By the way, these 3 races all coming at Churchill Downs. Race number 9, she'll take number 4, In Just My Heels, at 15-1 on the morning line. And in race number 10, the Lucas Classic, she'll take number 2, Hit Show, the defending champ. She expects him to be back in the winner's circle again here in 2025. He is 7-2 on the morning line. Ashley, if you want to recap for our listeners some of the incentives and offers that TwinSpires has on the table this weekend, go for it.
Yep, like I said, we had that money back offer today, so that's on races 5, 8, and 9, $10 money back offer if your horse finishes 2nd or 3rd in those races at Churchill. Plus, we have that Hit It and Split It on Sunday for closing day and that $3 late pick 3. And then we do have some tournaments going on today, a $100 Churchill Downs Challenge and a $1,000 Churchill Downs KDBC BCBC qualifier. And then for closing day, there's also a $200 Churchill Downs feeder tournament to the October 12th Keeneland BCBC CBC qualifier. So head to TwinSpires.com tournaments tab to learn more about all of those and how you can register. But of course, opt into that promo today for that money back offer as well.
Ashley, good luck with those selections that you just gave out, and good luck with all the races you're going to bet this weekend.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right, we'll do that. We encourage you to do that every single week and every single day that you're going to play the races with our friends at TwinSpires. Coming up next, Kurt Becker takes you on that weekly stroll through racing history that is always so enjoyable. And as I mentioned a short time ago, it is part 2 of his story about Mom's Command. You won't want to miss it. He told you the first part last week on the program. Now part 2 coming your way in just a few moments. Dale and Tim set to come up 10:30 Eastern with I Ask, They Answer. And at the end of the program, right around 10:55 Eastern, I will reveal the answer to this week's impossible trivia question. And if you missed it over the first 2 hours of the show, here it is. Who was Joe Hirsch's famous roommate while living in New York City during his days at the Morning Telegraph? Think about that one. That's a tester. That's close to impossible right there, unless you have a knowledge of Joe Hirsch and his legacy and his history. But what a wonderful turf rider. He is remembered today with the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic up in New York, and we talked about that race earlier in the program as well. All right, Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History coming up in just a couple of moments, right after this short break on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get ready for a weekend packed with exciting giveaways and prizes at Delaware Park Casino. Join us Saturday, September 27th and Sunday, September 28th for Delaware Park's Del Cap Festival of Racing. Each day after the 9th race, a lucky fan will win 2 VIP Philly Experience tickets or 2 University of Delaware football tickets with free parking. Sunday, September 28th is Del Cap Hat Giveaway Day while supplies last. All happening at Delaware Park Casino, where winning is always in play. Visit DelawarePark.com for more information. Lottery agent for Delaware Lottery. Must be 21 to play.
When it's time to paint the fences and barns, think Farm Paint. At Farm Paint, you get the industry's best coatings and paints factory direct at low, low prices. Farm Paint is your source for quality paints, roof coatings, dustless arena footings, and more. You can purchase online or drop into a Farm Paint store near you with locations in heart of bluegrass country at 700 Phillips Lane in Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, and Sandusky, Ohio. Buy factory direct and save at farmpaint.com. That's farmpaint.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. Last week, we began a journey through the story of a Kentucky-bred filly owned in New England, which became a Grade 1 winner as a juvenile in the fall of 1984. Today, we continue our focus on the racing career of Mom's Command and bring it to a conclusion. Bred and owned by Peter Fuller of Boston, ridden by his daughter Abby, and trained by Ned Allard, Mom's Command won 4 of her 7 starts as a 2-year-old, but lost 3 times in 4 Grade 1 races. The daughter of Top Command lost 2 of 3 races at 1 mile or greater in distance, and her lone victory in a Grade 1, as well as her only win in a 2-turn race as a juvenile, came when Greg McCarron was her jockey. A big, powerful filly with a high cruising speed, Mom's Command seemed best suited for sprints, and if there were any hope of rationing her speed, critics believed it would take a stronger and more experienced jockey than Abby Fuller. Abby's father disagreed. As the 1985 season drew near and Mom's Command prepared for a return to the races, Peter Fuller made clear that Abby would be the filly's jockey. Turf writers and sports columnists seemed surprised Fuller would choose his daughter over the likes of future Hall of Famers George Velasquez and Angel Cordero. But Fuller liked the fact his daughter would stay committed and would not abandon Mom's Command for another mount. Asked if she was feeling pressure as the racing season began, especially being a woman and facing doubters and naysayers, Abby said, "It's the same for any jockey. Just do the job, and it speaks for itself." Mom's Command would make her season's debut as a 3-year-old on March 23, 1985 at Pimlico in the Flirtation Stakes at 6 furlongs, and the result was a 19-length victory as the odds-on favorite. She then finished runner-up at Garden State Park in the 6-furlong Goldfinch handicap before returning to win the Cherry Blossom in track record time at 1 1/16 over the same track. Next, it was on to Belmont Park for the Grade 3 Cumberley Stakes at 7 furlongs before a crowd of 21,000 spectators. Mom's Command won handily, defeating a field which included reigning juvenile filly champion Outstandingly and future superstar Lady's Secret. Then came the New York filly Triple Tiara. 3 Grade 1 races restricted to 3-year-old fillies, all contested at Belmont. The series would open with the Acorn at 1 mile, followed by the Mother Goose at 1 1/8, and concluding with the 1.5-mile Coaching Club American Oaks. Mom's Command, the filly who the critics said would never get 1 1/8, much less 1.5 miles, won all 3. Paul Moran of Newsday said, quote, "Mom's Command was asked to perform to the outer limits of her ability, not an unreasonable request of a filly whose reward would be a hallowed place in racing history. Her response was a performance that will, when her career ends, quite possibly be remembered as her finest." End quote. Returning to the races less than 4 weeks later, Mom's Command ran second to Lady's Secret in the Grade 2 Test Stakes at Saratoga at 7 furlongs. But on August 10th, 1985, in what would be the final start of her career, Mom's Command won the Grade 1 Alabama at 1.25 miles, defeating Kentucky Oaks winner Franz Valentine in a wire-to-wire score before a Saratoga crowd of 31,000. An injury sustained during training 7 weeks later would send Mom's Command to the sidelines and end her racing career. But even her harshest critics agreed that she had already done enough to secure the Eclipse Award as the nation's outstanding 3-year-old filly. Thanks largely to her 2 wins at classic distances, Mom's Command was voted best among her peers. All told, Mom's Command won 11 of 16 career starts, scored wins at 7 racetracks, and earned $900,000. Peter Fuller sold half interest in his filly to JFB Stables as a broodmare prospect in November of 1985, and Mom's Command would eventually produce 15 foals, including the $1.5 million winner, Jonesboro. Mom's Command was humanely euthanized on February 3, 2007 at the age of 25 at the Fuller family's Runnymede farm in Northampton, New Hampshire. Abby Fuller, Ned Allard, and farm manager Lori Davenport were all present, as well as the attending veterinarian. Peter Fuller was not there, but as Abby describes it, he was nearby. And that is the story of Mom's Command, a filly of tremendous size and enormous stride. The opposition couldn't catch her, and distance couldn't stop her. As Sam McCracken of the Boston Globe put it, this was a fairy tale for the Fuller family. Mom's Command, though, was for real. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Kurt Becker with another fantastic story. If you did miss it, head over to our website after I finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Podbean or Apple Podcasts to hear all of our weekly shows. Coming up next, I welcome Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin for this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dear racing fans, we've been waiting for you. We've been working, prepping, training, putting together thrilling races, high stakes, favorite traditions, and fresh experiences. From right on the rail to the top of the hill. Whether it's your first meet or your 50th, we can't wait to welcome you back this fall. Love, Keeneland.
See the state's top thoroughbreds and quarter horses compete for year-end honors in the 6th Annual Indiana Champions Day, Saturday, October 25th at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Plus, enjoy a free cigar rolling station for those 21 years of age and older, along with handicapping contests, $3,000 mega bet wagers, winner's circle giveaways, and more. Indiana Champions Day, presented by Indiana Breed Development, Saturday, October 25th at 11 a.m. More information available at HS Indy Racing, located off I-74 at exit 109 in Shelbyville.
His sire is one of the most exciting young stallions in the world. His dam has become one of the most important broodmares in the industry. And on the first Saturday in May, his genetic brilliance shined brightest on racing's biggest stage.
They come into the final 16th, and it is going to be Mage to win the Kentucky Derby.
Mage, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Goal-oriented has taken the lead as they go around the far turn in the Pennsylvania Derby. Looming on the outside, Baeza. He's continuing to rally, and it's Goal-oriented who hits the top of the stretch with the lead. Goal-oriented, Baeza continuing to charge at his outside. So Sandy, he's not done. He's fighting on. Baeza up to confront Goal-oriented. Goal-oriented is fighting on gamely. Magnitude's on the scene late. It is Baeza who is kicking clear. There's a 16th left, and Baeza, Magnitude flying late, but Baeza gets his moment in the sun in the Pennsylvania Derby. Baeza over Magnitude, Goal-oriented, and a final time 148 flat.
Well, Baeza shipped cross-country and added a Grade 1 win to his resume last weekend. Jessica Paquette had the call. Are Dale and Tim buying or selling the talented 3-year-old as a legitimate threat to win the Breeders' Cup Classic? Plus, how concerned should Mindframe fans be that the Todd Pletcher trainee won't have another race prior to the Breeders' Cup Classic? And with last year's winners returning in a pair of graded stakes this afternoon at Churchill, which horse is more likely to defend their title? We'll talk about those topics and much, much more straight ahead on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin, all presented by the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program in the College of Business, and all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, Let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
Final Saturday in the month of September, which means the fall racing season is about to get really, really hot as we make our way down the road to the Breeders' Cup. So we'll have plenty of Breeders' Cup conversation on the program today. But we're going to begin with a few rounds of buy or sell. We always enjoy doing this here on I Ask, They Answer. Guys, I got 3 of them for you here this morning. And the first one comes from Shane in North Carolina, who is asking if you guys are buying or selling Baeza as a legitimate threat to win the Breeders' Cup Classic following his victory in last Saturday's Pennsylvania Derby. Tim, buy or sell?
I'm going to buy. You know, I was down at Parks, and I've been talking to John Sheriff, who I respect immensely, and he's been saying all along that he thinks that Baeza is one of the best 3-year-olds in the country. You know, granted, before the Pennsylvania Derby, he ran in 4 graded stakes, right? The Santa Anita Derby, the Derby, the Belmont, and the Jim Dandy, and he ran into either journalism and or sovereignty in all of them. And he was on the board in all of them. Did he close this is the first time he didn't run against those monsters of the division. He got his grade 1. He's going to be back home, just like journalism is. I mean, he looks like a horse that's going to get better. He might be better as a 4-year-old, but I'm not going to – as of today, I think Sovereignty is the best horse in the country. But can Baeza close the gap as we head into the Breeders' Cup? I think he can. Crazier things have happened in the Breeders' Cup. I think he has a legitimate chance to win it.
Me, blow the horn. Yeah. You made the argument for me. He didn't run against the best horses. He's run against them all year, hasn't beaten them, and now he's going to go against the best. He is one of the best 3-year-olds, but he's not the best. There's 2 or 3 of them out there better than him, and he has to face the older horses for the first time. I know he was a young horse, getting better as he goes. That's all good. Not going to get good enough for the Classic.
But he's also one of my horses in my stable of our competition. So, of course, I got to say he's got a shot.
So he's also jinxed.
Timmy, I have to point this out. This is the competition that Dale is once again running away with as we embark upon this road to the Breeders' Cup.
He's not running away with it. We're going to get to that, but he's not running away with it. No matter what this man from Kentucky tries to tell you.
Lee, I'm so confident. Blow the horn one more time. Thank you.
Dale, let me ask you this, because Shane also brings up this concept. Does being a late May foal, which is what Baeza is, with later development, give him any kind of a potential advantage as we get to November?
He's going to improve as he gets older because he is a young horse, but he can't improve enough, I don't think, between now and the end of the year to close the gap on the top leaders of the division.
Tim, that comes back to your point that he is probably going to be even better as a 4-year-old.
I think he is. But Dale, I have a question for you on that. When you talk about a late foal, when they're 2-year-olds, now they're 3, is that still a factor when they're 3 years old after they've Baeza's had 7 starts now? Is he caught up to them a little bit?
He's caught up a little bit, but it does make a difference. But it doesn't make as big a difference as you get older and older. They're going to cap where they're going to mature to. He's still probably got a little room he can make up on these horses, but is he still going to catch up to Sovereignty? I don't think so. I don't know what Sovereignty's foaling date is. I don't know how much younger he is than Sovereignty, but I don't think he catches him. I mean, if they're at if everybody runs their best, he's not as good as Sovereignty.
Yeah, Sovereignty certainly is. There's no doubt he's the leader in that division. Is he the leader overall when it comes to the Breeders' Cup Classic picture? Tim, I think he's still the top-ranked horse in the Breeders' Cup Classic rankings, isn't he?
He is by a landslide.
Yeah. Dale, Sovereignty foaled February 22nd of 2022.
Yeah, that gives him an edge in May. It wanes as the year goes on, the edge, but And Baeza is one of the best 3-year-olds in the country, but it's just a good group this year, and I don't think he's the best.
Well, the 3-year-old filly division was also in the spotlight last weekend at Parks. Clico recorded her 4th consecutive win in the Grade 1 Cotillion, taking down some of the division's heaviest hitters in the process. Guys, was that win enough to make you a buyer of this talented filly going forward? Tim?
No. She won the Cotillion. I mean, and don't get me wrong, she's a very nice filly. Brendan Walsh is very high on her. She won the Cotillion by a neck over Dry Powder and the Louis Linder local horse in that race. I mean, Good Cheer, LaCara, Scottish Lassie, the Grade 1 winners, the so-called heavyweights in the division really didn't show up. Does that mean that they're on the way out and this one's kind of moving up a little bit? Maybe. Well, maybe I'm going to change my mind a little. Maybe I'm going to say yes. Put the buzzer back to the good one. I think that she's going to improve, and the other ones are starting to fall off. So why not give her a shot in the distaff?
Cha-ching. Now I want to buy her. She's done nothing wrong. She's a good filly. She beat a good field the other day. She's one that just keeps on doing it, keeps on trucking, and I'm going to put a little faith in my friend Brendan. He can keep her going.
Well, how concerned should the connections of LaCara and Good Cheer be after those disappointing efforts? What do you think, Dale?
Very concerned. I told you about Good Cheer earlier. She didn't win at Saratoga that last start. She was on shaky ground. Those fillies, you don't see them rebound like you do colts. And, they'll peak and tail off, and it takes them a while to get back up there. I think that I would be concerned going into the Breeders' Cup.
So would I. Good Cheer won her first 7. Maybe she had an excuse in the Acorn, didn't like that sloppy track. And then when she was second in the Alabama, didn't get the pace she needed. She was beat 6+ lengths in the Cotillion. I mean, she's going the opposite way. And LaCara won the Acorn, was 4th in the Alabama. Then she finished 5th in the Cotillion. She just didn't have it. So I would be very concerned as well. I mean, I think those two fillies are going the wrong way. I mean, Mark Cassie still has a pretty nice filly in Nitrogen. But I know Mark, and I know he's not going to give up. But I think for sure these two are up against it now. Moving forward.
All right, well, let's talk about a filly that comes from the Brad Cox barn. You mentioned Good Cheer maybe not being in the best of form anymore. Well, last year's 2-year-old champion filly, Immersive, tallied her first win since capturing the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies last November when she scored as the heavy favorite in the Seneca Overnight Stakes last weekend. Guys, are you buying or selling that the champ is back? Dale?
I'll buy her back. I mean, she beat a really good horse that looked like it had her beat at the head of the lane and came back and ran a big race. That may be what she needed. She might be on the way back up the hill.
Well, she beat your horse, didn't she?
That's what I said. She beat a good horse.
Yeah.
So I was giving you the chance.
I thought I had her at the quarter pole, though. We come through on the inside of her. She was getting out a little bit, and I thought we had her, but it was exciting.
Well, this was her third, Immersive's third. I'm going to buy Immersive, too. Lee was a little slow on the trigger on that one. This is her third start off the layoff. The Coaching Club American Oaks was her first start after she had the bone bruising in January. She's a talented filly. I mean, Brad Cox manages her very, very well. And the Seneca was the spot that got her back on the winning ways, and I think she moves forward off of that.
Dale, that's a first sign of the chink in the armor with Tim and his team here in the showdown. He's lashing out at Lee for not being quick enough on the buzzer.
Yeah, he's nervous. Calm down a little bit, Tim. Lee's doing a good job.
All right. Those are a few buy or sell topics. Let's talk about this one, guys. How about Mindframe, who not long ago was regarded by many to be the best older horse in the country before his disastrous incident in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, in which he was bumped and lost his rider. And now he's going to train up to the Breeders' Cup Classic as opposed to having another prep race prior to it. What's the bigger concern? That he didn't get anything out of what was supposed to be his final prep, or that he won't have another race prior to the Classic? Dale, what's a bigger concern?
That he probably didn't get enough out of it. I like the fact that Todd's sticking to his plan, even though he didn't really get to run that day. Todd knows what he's doing. Great horse trainer. He'll get him there if he's good enough.
Would you have tried to squeeze another race into him after that Jockey Club Gold Cup?
It's hard to say without knowing your horse, and I'm just confident Todd knows what he's doing, and he's going to bring him in the right way. What he thinks is best is probably best.
Tim?
I agree with that. Mindframe, he did run up like 1.1 miles around the track before they caught him. He's going to go into the Classic a little bit under the radar, and Todd always talks about it's like, what have you done for me lately kind of thing. Mindframe before going into the Jockey Club Gold Cup was considered, like you say, if not the best, one of the best older horses in the country. His stablemate Fierceness might have gotten a little shine on him now after winning the Pacific Classic. But Mindframe is a very good racehorse. And you can't hold anything against him for that incident in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. I mean, he did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. I mean, he was the one that was taken out of the race. So, in Todd, they trust, is what a lot of people say. And, horses have trained up to the Classic before and won it. White Barrio won it after winning the Whitney, and he didn't run again before the Classic. So I think Mindframe's going to be just fine.
Dale, good horses are easy to train. They'll do whatever you want them to. And Todd knows what to do with him.
Dale, let's say he didn't get anything out of that last race, and he probably did not. How will Todd make sure that he is fit and ready for a 1.25 mile test against the best horses in the world?
Well, he'll just keep doing what he was going to do anyway. He'll keep him breezing on the schedule. And like I said, good horses are easier than the bad ones. They're just naturals. And it's not hard to keep them fit and ready.
Well, Mindframe going to be part of what is expected to be a loaded Breeders' Cup Classic in November at Del Mar. All right, one more topic before we get to right or wrong, and then I've got another fun topic as we remember Aqueduct and some of the top moments at Aqueduct. We'll do that at the end of the program, guys. But which horse is more likely to defend their title in today's greatest stakes at Churchill Downs? Is it 3 Technique in the Grade 3 ACAC, or is it Hit Show in the Grade 2 Lucas Classic? Tim, what say you?
Is this a real question?
It is. Who's more likely?
I think without question it's Hit Show. Start with 3 Technique. I believe it's 8 now. He hasn't won a race since the ACAC last year, and I think he's 0 for 5 since then. He's 30-1 in the morning line here. Off the board in all of his starts since then. I just don't see how anybody can back 3 Technique with any sense of confidence at all. And Hit Show did win the Dubai World Cup. I mean, he's 5th in the Stephen Foster. He was all out to win that stake at Mountaineer. But as far as taking one or the other, I think that's a no-brainer that Hit Show has got a better chance than 3 Technique.
Tim, let me just say this. I thought twice about throwing this question out there on the show because I kind of had a feeling you might ask me something like, is this a real question? The reason I put it out there, 3 Technique coming into this year's ACAC in his previous 4 starts has finished 4th, 5th, 5th, and 6th. Last year going into the ACAC, before he won it, he finished 5th, 5th, 4th, and 10th. So, yeah, are you saying there's a shot? I think there's a shot for 3 Technique.
It's a lightning strike twice in the same place.
Yeah.
We hope not.
This is a filler question, everybody. Let's just get that out there. We're trying to fill time here. We got 30 minutes. We got to talk about a slow weekend racing. I am going to cheer. I'm going to take 3 Technique just because it's my people. Jason Cook's a good friend, worked with me for years, and hopefully he jumps up and runs good for the Louisville guys. We've all been friends for a long time. I want him to run big.
So your heart says yes.
Next
what does your head
That's
say?
enough. That's enough for a filler question. Let's go on with it.
It was that transparent, huh, Dale?
It was pretty bad. Pretty bad. We should have had another caller question come in.
Well, let's do this. Let's say hello to our good friend Nick Zito, as we do every week here on the program, and you get to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
All right, I got to set this up the right way, guys. During the running of Wednesday's 7th race at Parks, jockey Abner Adorno's rein broke during the running of the race, causing his horse to bolt to the outside rail, leaving Adorno with almost no control. Jockey Michael Sanchez, who was riding in 3rd place at the time aboard Dark Devil, looked over and noticed that his good friend was in trouble. The outriders were unable to act in time, so Sanchez took matters into his own hands and guided Dark Devil out of the race and over to Adorno's horse on the outside rail to help him out, a move that likely saved his friend from a potentially horrific accident. From a human perspective, I think we would all agree that Sanchez made the right decision and a tremendous decision. But if you're sitting in the owner's shoes, do you feel the same way, guys? Was Sanchez right or wrong in taking Dark Devil out of the race?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Dale, let me start with you here. What do you think?
I mean, that's a tough situation to be in, but we always got to put the health and welfare of the horses and jockeys first, and I applaud the fact that he did it. I know if you own the horse or if you bet on the horse, you're probably sick after the race, but it just was a bad situation all the way around. He may have kept that kid from being seriously injured and the horse from being seriously injured, so got to say he was right.
Absolutely, you have to say he was right. I mean, when you look at the film, you can see Sanchez glance over his shoulder, and he saw it because he heard him yelling from behind.
Yep.
And he's a good friend of his. So, I mean, it's a split-second decision. It's not like he had any time to think about it. He just did it. And I would think and hope that the owner would be on board with that too, because there'll be other races. There'll be other races that the owner will have horses in. To put someone's life on the line here, which could, maybe that's too dramatic, but you never know. I mean, he was really close to the rail. I mean, he could have gone over.
Had no control.
Zero control. I mean, Sanchez being a horseman and a human being and seeing that his friend was really in a bad way, he did what I would hope everybody would do, and I applaud him for that.
Yeah, Michael Sanchez being lauded on social media by many people, saying this is one of the greatest things that they've ever seen in racing. Can you guys ever recall an incident similar to this in any way, where something like this has occurred? Dale, you've watched a million races. Timmy, you have too. Can you guys come up with anything?
I didn't see it, but Tammy always tells me about one of the first races she was in as a jockey. The horse stumbled really bad, and she was halfway off. And I forget who it was that was next to her, but he reached over and grabbed her and kind of pushed her back into the saddle. She said it kept her from hitting the ground that day and probably kept her from getting hurt. I didn't see it, but she told me about it. And that was pretty, I think, I don't remember who she said the jockey was. It might have been Chopper Bork that reached over and grabbed her and pushed her right back up on the saddle.
Yeah, as much as these riders, as much as they want to win these races, guys, they're out there to, most of them anyway, should be out there looking out for each other during the run of the race, because it is an extremely dangerous profession.
Very dangerous, and it's the greatest athletic feat there is in sports, to ride a horse in a race. And to do something like that, be that selfless is, we got to applaud this kid.
Yep.
All right, we're going to bring Nick back for that segment next week here on I Ask, They Answer. Guys, but before we get to this final topic, since we're discussing the dangers of riding races, let's wish all of our friend Brian Hernandez Jr. a very speedy recovery after his surgery and his very serious accident that he went through at Churchill Downs. We wish him all the best.
No question. That was going to be my final point.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that,
too.
Timmy.
I was hoping I would go first, so I would get that final point. Now I got to think about something else.
Well, maybe we just do that. That's just what. Maybe we just keep it with that.
Right.
I think we should. He's one of racing's real good guys, and we want to wish him a very speedy recovery. We're glad that the surgery went well, and he's going to be okay. All right. How about this one? 131 years ago today, September 27th, 1894, Aqueduct Racetrack opened its doors. The building was torn down in 1955, and then a new aqueduct reopened September 14th, 1959. Guys, this is likely to be the final year of racing at the iconic track. So on this anniversary, I thought it would be kind of fun to look back on some of the greatest moments in the history of Aqueduct and share some of our fondest memories. So, Tim, let me start with you. What are a few things that you're always going to remember about the Big A?
Well, I've covered a heck of a lot of wood memorials there. I remember Bellamy Road winning the wooden 2005 for our pal Nick Zito by 17-plus lengths, which was one of the greatest performances in that race's history. Todd Pletcher has won the race 7 times, just one shy of the all-time record of Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons. You know, Todd has had some really good horses that won that race. I mean, it was the place where Secretariat made his final public appearance before he retired. There was like 30,000 people that came out to see him. I could go on forever, but one that sticks out historically way back in 1944 when they had the triple dead heat in the Carter. It's the first and only triple dead heat in the history of American stakes races. So, and that happened at Aqueduct. You know, it's just, you know, the thing about Aqueduct, it gets the rap of, you know, being sort of a archaic, dumpy kind of place, but next to the airport. But, you know, it has seen a lot of really cool things in the history of the sport. And it'll be sad when the wrecking ball hits it, because it's one of the, you know, one of the places that molded the history of horse racing. And it's just going to be another place that's a memory, and that's too bad. But, you know, progress wins out over everything, I guess.
Yeah, Aqueduct, I mean, you could talk about it forever, but the best thing about Aqueduct in the winter, grandstand racing fans are the most hardcore in the game. And they're smart. They understand the game. But I love walking back after a race, win, lose, or draw. You either got cheered or booed. You're liable to get beer thrown on you. I never did. I seem to be a favorite over there. They liked me over there. So, but walking back after a race with a jock, that was hardcore. And those guys knew the game, and they would blast and boo and a jockey if they didn't like the ride he got. And I always thought that was fun, going through the grandstand at Aqueduct with those winter hardcore fans.
Yeah, as you walk through the paddock.
Hopefully they move over to Belmont for the winter.
As you walk through the paddock, it's almost like, you know, because everyone's looking down on you. It's like you're in the Roman Coliseum.
They had a good shot at you.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they sure did.
You know, I remember the Breeders' Cup there. What was it? 1985, I believe, is when the Breeders' Cup was at Aqueduct. And, you know, that was the year I think Cozine, if I recall, had won the turf or the mile? I guess it was the mile that Cozine ended up winning. You had Life's Magic, who took the distaff that year. The Classic was won by Proud Truth for Darby Dan Farm. Yeah, I mean, just some wonderful memories there. But that Breeders' Cup was pretty special there, too.
Yeah, and that's where Cigar started his 16-race winning streak, won the first 2 there, an allowance in the Naira Mile, which is now the Cigar Mile.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll encourage our listeners to send in their memories, too, on the anniversary here. 131 years ago today that Aqueduct first opened its doors and likely looking at its final racing season here in 2025. So send in your memories. You can do that by emailing the show or posting them on our social media pages. We'd love to hear from you. And, guys, we'd love to hear from Dale. because Dale is leading the Showdown 4 competition right now, as he has been for the past several weeks. Dale, you've got the lead 64-54 over Timmy. He did cut into the lead with Baeza's win in the Pennsylvania Derby, but you're still up by 10. I'm lagging way behind. I've got 41 points, and I'm going to need a miracle to catch you. But right now it's a 2-horse race, and Dale, you've got the floor, my friend.
I'm just galloping on the lead at the 8th pole. Got ready to smooch to my horses and let them draw off down the lane for my 3-peat. And, Tim, please never put one of my horses on your team. You seem to be a little bit of a jinx.
My Lord. I mean, this is it's like you're standing up in the irons before you even get to the finish line, Dale.
I'm pulling races the Armo. You're going to nail me on the wire?
The race isn't over yet.
It's all but over. The fat lady's warming up. She's about to sing.
No, she might be singing The Sounds of Silence.
Timmy, you're still in striking distance. It should be a fun road to the Breeders' Cup over the next 5 weeks or so, and we'll wind down that Showdown competition. We'll declare the champion after the races on Breeders' Cup Saturday. Dale looking to pull off the Triple Crown in a 3-peat if he can pull it off here in 2025. Okay. Time to wrap up the show as we do every single week, guys, with our final point of the week. I know you both mentioned you wanted to spend a few minutes talking about Brian Hernandez Jr., and I welcome that. So, Tim, why don't you kick it off for us?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really tough spill that Brian had. And, you know, he's a tough guy. He's going to bounce back from it. And the thing about it, he's such a good guy and a friend of the show. I mean, he's been on the show with us before. You know, he's a fan of I Ask They Answer, and you know, I know he's mentioned he'd love to get back to the Breeders' Cup, but probably not going to happen. And he's, you know, the rider of Torpedo Anna, who's now going to have Flavian Pratt, and he also rides Mystic Dan. I'm sure it's killing him, the fact that he won't be on these horses, but. You know, Brian, if you're listening, just get well, and the horses will be waiting for you when you get back.
Yeah, I think we're all going to talk about, as we said, we're all going to talk about Brian today. It was a shame what happened to him. He's lucky, though, that he wasn't hurt even worse. The horse stepped on him after it dropped him, and, you know, they did the surgery. It seems like everything went well. He'll be back quicker than most would believe, but hopefully he doesn't try to come back too early. But what I was thinking is, you know, we did have him on the show once. It was a good show. We seem to have a filler question every week, like we're trying to fill this half hour. Let's have Brian back. He's got nothing to do for the next 5 or 6 weeks. Let's have him back one day.
I like that idea. You know, oftentimes in the sport, we talk about people being fantastic at whatever they do. Great rider, great trainer, great owner, but an even better human being. And I think Brian certainly fits that bill. So, Brian, get well soon, my friend, and appreciate you tuning in here to the show most of the time anyway. Guys, appreciate it. We're going to do this all over again next Saturday morning.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Talk to you then.
Enjoy the weekend. If you have a topic you want Dale and Tim to discuss, email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. We'll try to work it in for you. You can also post them on our social media pages. I Ask They Answer is presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. I'm back with the answer to this week's impossible trivia question next. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
Join us at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races on Saturday, October 11th for the 39th Annual West Virginia Breeders' Classics. It's the premier night of racing for West Virginia breds on the Charlestown calendar. The all-stakes 10-race card is headlined by the $300,000 Sam Huff West Virginia Breeders' Classic, with over $1 million in purses up for grabs on the night. The best West Virginia breds in training get their time to shine under the lights at Charlestown. It's the 39th Annual West Virginia Breeders' Classics here at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races.
Check out the all-new horseracingradio.net. All the same great horse racing radio content in a new, easy-to-use design. Listen to all of our shows streaming live or access the replays anytime. See our schedule, sign up for our newsletter, download our latest podcasts, and so much more. It's all on our website at horseracingradio.net. That's horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Remember to stay ahead of the field with the Blood Horse Daily, your free all-access pass to the latest in thoroughbred racing and breeding. Delivered straight to your inbox every evening, it's packed with breaking news, race results, analysis, and much, much more. Don't miss any fast-paced racing news. Sign up today at bloodhorse.com/daily. That's bloodhorse.com/daily and get your daily edge in racing, all for free. Well, I told you the trivia question this morning, our impossible trivia question, seems a bit challenging. Lee Delapina has the answer.
Thank you, Mike. Who was Joe Hirsch's famous roommate while he worked at the Morning Telegraph? That was none other than Broadway Joe Namath. Joe Hirsch lived in Broadway Joe's penthouse apartment in New York's Upper East Side.
How about that? Can you imagine being in that apartment? How many great stories would you walk away from there with the legendary Joe Hirsch and the legendary Joe Namath? Man, and we remember Joe Hirsch today with the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic in New York. Earlier in the program, we got a chance to hear from Maggie Morley and talk to her about some of the big races, not just the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic, but the Vosburg and the big races in New York. And then got a chance to look at the racing at Prairie Meadows and the racing at Keeneland coming up, and, of course, look back on the sale. And, yeah, we talked about Straight No Chaser defending his title out at Santa Anita later today. Several defending champs running this weekend. Should be a fantastic couple of days of racing. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Equine Forum. If you missed any portion of the show, check out the podcast on our website and your favorite podcast platform. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, and to Chauncey for handling all of our social media. Get up early. Watch the Steelers beat the Vikings tomorrow. Here we go.